In Council, I'd like to welcome everybody here this morning present. 28 July 2022. Those connected virtually to the public, welcome. The Executive Mayor I see is connected virtually.
That's correct.
Business managers, Mayor, can you hear us?
Yes, Speaker, I can hear you.
Can hear you, Mayor? So that is then the Executive Mayor is locked in. But sick. So just before we open, I would like to make an announcement. Since last week, Wednesday, the Deputy Mayor has been leading us in the role of the Executive Mayor, the absence of the Executive Mayor. So she will also be having communication. Thank you, the Deputy Mayor, for your presence, standing in for the Executive Mayor while he's sick. Next week, when he will be returning sometime next week, the new month of August. So thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
Continue with the attendance register that is circulating. Everybody make sure you sign the register. We will then bow our heads and open this proceedings with a silent prayer starting now. Amen. Then will be, we are now on point 3. I did receive an apology from Councillor Mhlana, who is attending matters that we could not make it today. Was accepted. It's the only leave of absence I've received. See, all councillors is present. We will then go to point 4. That deals with the declaration of interest. Any councillor would like to declare any interest? Take it none. We'll then move to point 5, which is the confirmation of minutes for previous meetings. It is then 5.1, the confirmation of resolutions C6 25 05 22 and C6 27 05 22 at the ordinary meeting dated 31st May 2022. Councillors, is there a full reflection? Councillor Tsabai, noted.
Thank you, Speaker. I thought we were going to get an explanation. I'm just saying that there is correction there. Because we picked up that there are mistakes. I thought we were going to get an explanation on how it has happened.
You have the next.
We have listened to the tapes in the first instance. We did not listen to the tapes due to time constraints, but we have listened to the tapes in this instance again, and that is where we have corrected the errors. Our apologies, sir.
Councillor Botha?
Very short, let me just talk. Just with regards to, I know it's going to be discussed later because this is talking about this specific resolution. Point 1 under the Municipal Public Accounts Resolution C/1/64/06/22. Under point 1, it says that council write off the expenditure outlined in Annexure A of the report with consequences subject to an internal investigation to be conducted on the legal services expenditure. I don't believe that that is what was asked for. If I recall correctly, I believe it was the mayor wanting to satisfy himself, not with an investigation, but with an explanation. I don't know if anyone or what anyone else recollects.
Amen.
No, thanks, Mr. Speaker. The mayor wanted an internal investigation. Subsequent to that, Councillor Mhlanga proposed that it's not only the legal matter, but the whole ticketing of be included because he felt that there's a lot of money that is being spent on this. So the item that I have introduced today speaks to that issue. The executive mayor know is handicapped in terms of speaking with the voice. Maybe we can hear him. We ask for the internal investigation be done.
Does that answer you, Councillor?
If that is what everyone else recollects, then I stand corrected. Thank you.
Just to note that in that meeting, it was not approved, the recommendations of MPAC to write off that there must be investigation.
Councillor Tabai, see your hands up.
No, I'm happy now that what we're correcting is the such, because we're going to accept something that was wrong. I'm happy.
So with that, then I take that set is correct. The patient that Councillor Tabai is then happy with that.
Speaker,
Councillor Liang?
with all the discussion now and the reviewing, it seems that we can accept the minutes as correct. And I propose that we accept the minutes.
Councillor Tabai did say that it's correct, proposed, then with Councillor Nyala. Councillor?
I agree. It's only those two sets of minutes that we didn't agree with. Then we accept it. Are you seconding me?
If you propose, I'm not sure whether you proposed, I'll second you.
I'm saying a whole lot of things you should have just seconded.
Yeah, whatever. Let's just get it over and done with.
Proposed by Councillor Tabai.
Same time.
Councillor Botha?
Sorry, with another issue. Just coming up to the determination of the upper limits of the salaries, where in here we mentioned section 79, chairperson has been time chairperson. We just wanted to establish, is that correct? That the it's in the
Not yet by that, Madam.
Are we not there?
Speaker must still go to the second session.
It's going to the second set.
Except of, it is in 5.2. The minutes of the ordinary council meeting dated 30 June 2022. The minutes is on screen. Is there a true reflection? Councillor Botha, I think this is where you wanna mention something?
yes, thank you. Page, sorry, I'm just getting there.
Point of order, Speaker. Point of order.
Councillor Tabai?
Speaker, I would like you to lead us with the minutes. If it's page, say page 20, page 21, page 2, and we stop you when we reach that particular. Please do that.
Tanya, can you assist us with the minutes, please?
Over to the official.
We now with the minutes of the ordinary council meeting of 30 June 2022 at 9:05, starting at page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15, page 16, page 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, page 24,
Just hold on, page 24,
Page 23.
23.
Yeah, the section 79 chairperson there, the value stated there is for a full-time chairperson. Is that correct? And if so, can a chairperson please be advised?
On page 23, Speaker. Councillor Tabane.
It is page 23. You'll understand, Speaker, I proposed in that item, and also the deputy mayor seconded. Now we want to understand, is it the true reflection of the figures there? Because we are dealing with minutes now. We want, whatever we see an error, we must correct that error and not accept something that we are not sure of. The question that is being asked by Councillor Board, the section 79 chairperson is the remunerations package.
Ma'am.
Thanks. Just Chair, can I just first assist before I reply correctly? Councillor Bota, where are you seeing the?
It's highlighted.
highlighted.
The one that is
Highlighted.
highlighted.
She was speaking about the chairperson being the full time. So it says the section 79 chairperson, I don't see in section 79 chairperson.
Okay. The value of the remuneration package that states there is for a full-time section chairperson.
Okay.
Currently, if we speak to her, she's been treated as a part-timer.
Okay. So no, thanks. Speaker, can I just ask that we deal with the minutes because this is what was presented in council. So that amount is what was presented in terms of a section 9 chairperson as per the gazette for the full-time chairperson. So that was what was presented. So the minutes, there's nothing wrong with the minutes in terms of that. We can perhaps reply not necessarily in relation to the minutes in terms of the chairperson board full-time or not full-time in terms of that, But if you reply that, it's not something that is in the minutes now, So we're dealing with the correctness of the minutes, And yeah, I can reply that, I can give that information.
Thank you, ma'am.
page 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, attendance registers 29, 30, and 31, and 32.
That's the set of minutes. Councillor Nel.
Speaker, I propose that we take the minutes as read and correct, with the proviso that the will go back to councillors regarding the section 79 chairperson's remuneration in terms of the upper limits.
Councillor Olivier.
A second.
Seconded by Councillor Olivier, proposed by Councillor Nel. That's the minutes under point 5. Point 6. Statements and communications by the Executive Mayor or the Speaker. Deputy Mayor, standing Executive Mayor, do you have communication?
Good morning, Speaker, councillors, municipal manager, and all people that are joining us remotely. On behalf of the mayor, I will read his statement and communication. Today is the 28th of July, 2024, regarding settlement arranged for payment of area and write-off offered. We need to encourage those who feel that they cannot afford the payment arrangements offered to also come speak to us to see what arrangement can be made to us to settle their debt. The municipal manager has discretion to make decisions on individuals' circumstances, and it is the municipality's intention to assist everyone to bring their service account up to date. We can possibly arrange a set-off based on payment of current accounts. People must not just ignore their outstanding accounts. We will try to help them to settle. While the municipality was under budget by 2% for this year, in bracket 17 million, it is an improvement on the 20% in bracket 52 million at end of October 2021. Expenditure is 1% in bracket 11 million vs 3% in bracket 6.9. Current ratio is at 1.7, 0.1.0. Another round of outreach programs redebt outstanding will be conducted. Thank you very much. That is the correspondence from the executive mayor.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. With that, nothing from my side. We'll then move to point 7. Point 7 deals with presentations. 7.1, we have 2 presentations. The first presentations will be handled by Angela, who's dealing with the implementation plan for the water management devices. Are you ready?
Stand up in the front, sorry, good morning. Do you want us to stand in the front, speak, or sit here?
Yes, for the whole floor to see.
Good morning. I'm just going to introduce Angela. She's actually the supplier of the water meter. I think her relationship with Bitou has even been, it's longer than mine. I started in 2019, but they were already engaged to supply the water meters. Just a bit of background. In 2017, we experienced a drought. Prior to that, we experienced one in 2012 and another one prior to that. So with the same sort of frequency, we tend to experience droughts in Bitou. And so as a response to the drought of 2017, the council approved the implementation purchasing rather of water management devices to help, particularly at that time, indigent households to better manage their water use as part of the bigger picture on management and conservation. That is also aligned to policy in revenue services, which actually says that we need to start using smart water meters. So this is one aspect of some municipalities starting to look at water conservation and demand management. As I said, it's primarily at this stage is aimed at indigent households. You see that there's a council resolution from January 2022 this year that was approved that stated there were, 6 resolutions in terms of the implementation of the water meters. I'll come back to that and explain where we are at the end of Angela's presentation. But it is covered in the agenda in front of you. We are with that. She'll just take you through the actual technology, and that's what she will look at today. Okay, yes.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Deputy Mayor, Speaker, councillors, and everyone else that is here. Thanks for the opportunity. I think my friend said I'm really just here to speak to you about the technology of the water meters that you have actually purchased already. I know you've got a very busy agenda, so just very, very brief in terms of just how it is. We've been 17 years in business. We've supplied about 450,000 on these specific water meters. And Francie, if I can ask you maybe if we get this to the box behind you. This is what we're talking about and comes in a plastic box. And then if you want to send it round or, okay. We have about 130, and then also 120 permanent staff members. You'll see on the board or on the screen where we have our offices. And we also do, like I said, we do meter supplies as well as installations. We've worked with obviously your municipality, we've worked with the City of Cape Town, Joburg, Overstrand, in George, East London, so really across South Africa. I have the, okay, utility systems, they are the manufacturers of the meter. They are based in South Africa, 18 years in terms of providing these water management solutions, and we've supplied 140 or 450,000. They probably deployed 1.4 million of the devices. And when I talk about the devices, that is the small box that you see. That's all the information on it. Then skip the next slide and go to the following one. Part of it.
I'm fully back.
Okay. What you're looking at is a smartphone. You've got a device that manages the water that flows from one part to the other. You can use it in different ways, and I think this is the important information. You can deploy these water meters into any area where you are wanting to provide water to any household. You have the option of having settings flow or free flow, so there's no limit to the number of liters that that resident or that household gets. You also have an option to say, because of a drought situation, because we have limited water, we need to set the person on 1,000 liters a day or 500 liters a day. You have that option. For that same meter, you also have the option of doing prepaid. So if you're wanting to look at the return in terms of revenue, you have the option. So you can do the basic reallocation of what is required that you need to give to every person, or you can do it open and you bill at the end of the day, or you can do it in a prepaid option. Okay, is that clear? Okay, thank you. So we speak about flow limitation and how it can be configured, and I've spoken about that right now. So you can allocate, let's just say the allocation is going to be 1,000 liters per day or 5,000 liters per day. The meter allows you, as it is here, to say in the morning at 4 o'clock, we're going to dispense 2,500 liters. Then in the afternoon, we're going to dispense another 2,500 liters. You want to make sure that the household has water throughout the day. If there is a leak, the device is able to tell you just by looking at it, if there's a possible leak on the property. If someone tampers with it, the valve is going to shut, which means that you're not going to lose any water. Someone will need to go out and investigate. So again, like we said, it contributes to drought relief efforts. If your allocation is 5,000 liters a day and you only use 2,000, the remaining 3,000 is carried over to the next day. So when you have additional water requirements, whatever you don't use is carried over to the next day, and at the end of the month, it will then clear. And then on the first of the month, you'll start off with your new 5,000 liters a day. We spoke about huge, if I can still one back, sorry. Just the second last point. We have come across in different municipalities where residents or owners don't know that they have a leak, and then they could bill 30, 40, 50,000. Again, like I said, because it's got a tamper detection, because it's got a leak detection, you're able to alleviate this extra expense that they may incur. And then automated meter reading. Actually, I'll go that onto the next slide. Thank you. So emergency water, if it is in prepaid and the client runs out of water, for instance, you can allocate as a municipality to say that if there is a fire, if there is additional, you can decide what the parameter is, that regardless of them being in a prepaid mode, you can allocate 1,000 liters. Okay, so they will never ever not be without water. You set the parameters of how you want the water meter to work. Spoken about leak and tamper detection. The box that you see, obviously, there's two different boxes, above ground and surface, and the surface box is the one that you have purchased. Thanks. So I've spoken a little bit about prepaid. Prepaid works the same way as your electricity prepaid. It's the same meter that you use. You get a small block, or not block, sorry. You get a small device that's called a CIU. You buy tokens either online or at any vendor. Again, whoever your vendor is, whatever options there are, you buy it, you insert it into this device, and you get your prepaid water. So when that water is up, you have the option of buying additional water. I've spoken to that slide over SMS, internet, where you're able to add a vendor, where you're able to get your token. I think frankly, I think just maybe just use your phone. We speak about automated meter reading and wanting to make things easier. There are certain areas that we are aware of that may be dangerous. There's a lot of discussion over estimates of water bills and how do you get the actual readings. So this device, if I can get it in here. So if you have these water meters, which you already have, there's an application that you download on your phone as the municipality. Whoever your water meter readers are, they would open the device, they would plug this in, and all that they would then have to do is either walk by and it automatically picks up what the usage is of the different devices that are employed and that are installed in the area. It will then also pick up whether it's in Tampa, it will also pick up whether or what the usage is, Tampa, if it is in Tampa, and also if it's damaged. So for instance, you export these readings of what the actual usage is, and someone back at the office, they download it onto their computer, and you see, but this resident hasn't used any water. Okay, it's going to tell you either he wasn't at home, and maybe there was no one there, or that there's a possible bypass on the property. So they're getting water maybe that they shouldn't be getting, or they're getting water that they are not paying. Okay, thank you. This is just an example. Sorry, I know that it's really not very clear, but if you can, this is a 24-hour view. So once the meter is installed, once you start using water, every single hour, so this is 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock, everyone woke up and they started using water. And I think that's 15 liters of water. 6 o'clock, they were still using water, and it gives you a full 24-hour view. Okay, so you're able to, once you've got the information, analyze some certain patterns in specific areas, as well as usage over specific times as well. This is one back. This is just a daily view. So here you'll find the date at the bottom. That's just the software. Person used 57 liters. The next day they used 110. Again, good information, data that you can use in terms of what is your actual requirement.
Sorry,
Thank you.
are you able to take questions now, or do you want to take it at the end?
Nearly done. If you can, okay. Just approvals. I think this is obviously very important in terms of all the regulatory compliance, NRCS. The meter has all of those. We're able to, and we have already provided you with all of the certificates. So it's not something that's just been stuck together in some kind of random warehouse sold onto you. The meter has been approved. And if we talk about NRCS, you know, the equivalent of SAD, that SAD's approved, those are all the requirements that it doesn't hit. Training and support, I think, Branston, you can attest to this. I mean, we supplied, unfortunately, just for COVID, and you weren't able to install. We pride ourselves on our sales. I mean, it's 2 years later, we do the presentation to you because we want to keep the relationship. We say in terms of the training, you can have the device, but if we don't give you the information of how to actually use it, that there's a lot of benefit in that you lose. Like I told you, we've got offices all over South Africa. The closest one is George, and we also have in Nelson Mandela. So if there is support staff, which we've recently done, just to go in and check meters, to offer some training, we really are just a phone call away. That's it.
Councillor Botha?
Two questions. The data collectors, when they, with the automation, what is the radius at which they can become accessible?
Between 50 and 100 meters, line of sight. So the one that I showed you is for Wi-Fi, which you can also get a drive-by where the antenna is a little bit longer. So you can just put it on the top of your, of the roof of the car and then drive by at between 20 and 30 kilometers per hour.
Sorry, but just to add to that, we are working in close, working closely with the ICT section and to integrate this so that we don't have a number of meter reading devices and so on. We've already got remote reading devices, and this is going to be incorporated into the same devices that we have. But there's another option, and one of the strengths of this meter is if they're used in a specific area, you just literally need to put up a pole like a Wi-Fi, something like you would, and it stays there and it sends all the information through. So it'll cut down on meter reading, it'll improve the accuracy, and that's one of the advantages of this particular technology. And that's where we want to go. Remember, I spoke about the council resolution earlier that says we're going smart. We're supposed to be going smart, and our meter readers will then become meter inspectors. And so that's the longer term plan that this feeds into, because you can have a standing reading device. It can be stationary. It doesn't have to be something that's on a walk by or drive by facility.
The same question is, will the user entities have access to graphs and the usage feedback? That's something that they download and what's in their own.
No, that is with the municipality. Obviously, they can share it because, I mean, it's on a device, or it's on a tablet, or it's on a laptop. So when there's a query, normally what we do is we call it a profile. So they would go, just trying to find it, the meter and the device. So there's a thing. If I can maybe show you, what they would do is they take this at the property, they take their laptop, this probe that is connected, they put it on top of here, and it downloads the entire usage from the time that it was installed. That is the profile. So if there's a query to say that I did not have water, you can go to that specific page and you can say, well, actually, you had water between 5 and 8, and it was used, you used your 1,000 liters, or actually you did not have any water. Then you can sort of further explain from there.
And then perhaps the last question, so we talked about how we have already received devices. So how many devices, and obviously we know some of them 169 houses. And how many devices do we have that have been
Have not been installed. So at the time, and it also just follows on from the response that Angela gave in terms of the functionality and ability to actually access the data that you just spoke about. If you look at the council resolution of 2018, it was primarily the primary use or the intention of this current program was for indigent households. So at the time, there were roughly 2,800 indigents, and so 2,885 were purchased. We are looking at options, but still in its initiation stages, really, or maybe a bit further on the initiation stage. One of the things that we are having difficulty with, working closely now with revenue to try and address this, is holiday houses often are locked for 12 months of the year. And we're looking at the practicalities of being able to use a meter like this in a holiday house. And then we might look at the options of giving them the ability to look at the profiles. We still, that's still some way away. But that's one of the things that we're certainly looking at. As an immediate intervention, we'd like to look some of these meters in holiday houses, and we've had some people showing an interest in them. And I have to thank Jermaine for that, because when a lot of people went over were on conventional electricity, when they went over to prepaid in their holiday homes, I had people knocking on my door in my office asking about prepaid water meters. And the reason for that, let out our house, you can add the cost of water, add the cost of electricity or package that into the. But the beauty for us, or the benefit to the municipality, would be that we often can't get to read holiday house meters in holiday houses except once or twice a year, which is a problem. So the beauty of a meter like this is that it would be able to assist us in that regard. I must add that that's not the case across the municipality. We do have other smart meters in some of the areas that are primarily, where you have a lot of holiday houses. But this would be something that we also consider as a use for this particular meter. That's what I'm saying.
Sorry, that was Councillor Kolwambi. Question?
Yes. Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, lady. As much as we know that we need technology very much for saving our revenue and also to ensure that these people they get service. But there's always a downside, down part of everything. As we are presenting all the good things about it, but I still have a question. Are you a manufacturer or are you a supplier? Yes. Where?
It's on a utility system. They're based in Durban.
In Durban. That was the question that, how long is the guarantee of this, the usage of this?
18 months with an option to extend.
Okay. Another question is, if there are any repairs around that are needed, people they are stuck with something that is broken, how long does it take it for them to get another one or to be fixed or whatever? Have you trained people around that are going to fix things? Because it only detects the tampering and whatever. But if people need to be assisted, that it be fixed. Have you trained people around to ensure that the fixing time is much lesser?
Okay, so we have already done training sessions with the municipality. We have always offered this ongoing, that whenever there is a need, I think I stressed this in my presentation as well, that for us, the training really is important so that you can get the full benefit. And a lot of our service level agreements with other municipalities where we have also been contracted to see to the maintenance, we've sorted it out within 24 hours to 48 hours.
So, Councillor Kowampi, on the practical side, and I hear where you're coming from. We've installed meters in Korweni 169. They are currently in their open mode. However, I was out there yesterday just doing spot checks because our water loss control officers had a death in his family, so I quickly went out there. And one of the things that I picked up on some of the houses that weren't, two of the houses that weren't occupied yet, was that there was a plugged into the meter, and we found that there was an issue. In a case, but I resolved it on site. In a case where we cannot resolve it on site, and this is what we'll address in the public participation, and to some extent I put it in a draft, which is part of the public participation, is that it will follow the normal process in terms of a customer call log or complaints from the residents. So residents would call into customer care. And there's a protocol where how they and payments from the meter. And if it cannot be resolved, which is what happens with normal meters, if we can't see why a normal or conventional meter, one of the older meters, is not letting water through, or whatever the case may be, and a plumber cannot resolve it on site on the day that it's reported, the meter is then replaced, and with the new meter, and we take the meter away for testing. That's the normal protocol across all our water meters.
Okay. There's two more hands, then we move to the next presentation. It was Councillor Liao, then first the Executive Mayor. There's a question? Does not have a voice. The question, will the device give low battery warning when battery needs to be replaced from the Executive Mayor? And that's a bold yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I can show you on the.
It's a bold yes, Mr. Mayor. It will give a warning.
I can explain it further. Like your cell phone, on the far left, there's like 4 or 5 bars. If it goes down, then you know that it's going to go into battery failure.
And to answer your question, Councillor Nyal, you're the last hand. Then we move.
I would see that the ultimate goal would be for this system communicate with the accounting system and billing. Have you managed any other cities in the city of Cape Town, Johannesburg, established that communication without a problem.
They have, we have, yes.
That's,
It's incorporated into their policies.
thank you.
We also, councillor, now we also have tested the prepaid function. I've got one of these meters at the house that I'm staying in. Unfortunately, I'm very careful with water, and there's a lower limit, and I use water even within that, so I can't, we have tested the prepaid functionality and it does work, but we're a long way from that. We're not a long way. We have to, there's full public participation, as was resolved in January before we go there, but between ICT and revenue services, as recently as yesterday, we were in discussion with them. There's an ongoing discussion where the chief meter is actually working with ICT and utility systems, which is the vending system, to actually integrate the meters. So they're already integrating many meters, for example, into Hoofmaster, and even the meters that are still in storage are being picked up and ready every time. And so that is a process that's been.
Next, and I see you showing interest that you want one of the meters at your house, Councillor Kabai. Is that correct? I see the way you're excited when they talk about.
I haven't had any councillor here saying we must be the first one as legislators. Take those prepaid meters to our house, like not even a single one.
I think so. We did so.
There is an item about this coming now. It must be a recommendation that department goes to all the councillors' houses and install that device.
Makes sense.
Thank you very much.
Just a moment, then we move.
Chair, if you close the session, I just wanted to comment just me, but I think Councillor Kabai touched on it. One of the key issues here is in terms of the previous council decision, Mike and Francine, we just need to look at that because it was intended for indigent. I think it might be incorrect. It might be seen as discriminating and creating a perception that the indigent people are wasting water. Part of our problem normally is holidays homes where people are not in those houses and you are unable to read, and then you do estimate, you come up with a bill of 54,000. And most of these people then question that and they want to take it to court in terms of that, So we just have to maybe at the later stage bring back an item and a report in terms of the way, in terms of what we roll it out, but including what Councillor Kabai has actually said in terms of councillors and municipal officials taking lead in terms of the process, so that we don't create that perception that indigent people are the one that are actually using excessive water, But one of the critical issues through my experience with this process, by the way, hi Angela, is that we have to make a decision. We have to make a decision as a council. Are you going to keep it on free flow or you're going to put it on prepaid? That's the most critical thing on this matter in order to be able to be communicated with the community. The municipality can start with the free flow because initially you want to manage the estimates, which are always wrong, which are always so that people can see how much they are using. And then from there, you can build on to say, you've got the free flow, but we can see that you are using excessive water. Then you call those customers one by one. You make it a choice in terms of a prepaid and the issue of free flow. So I just thought I must just highlight those issues. But I think as we report on the progress, we will then improve on these issues. I'm not sure, Mike, if yeah.
Mr. Rode?
The kickoff was originally for the indigents, and the reason for that was we believe that indigents use beyond their 6 kilo read, then they become themselves into trouble with consumption. But since we have moved beyond, you see those 6, 7 resolutions, we've opened it up to many use cases. And the issue that Councillor Kabai is raising is there was talk about putting it in councillors' house. It wasn't captured in the resolution, but there was a sense what the councillors was ready. This was to confirm that they in fact.
Thank you. I think we will get to your house.
We have a house.
Councillor, I've said it many times. I'm staying in Chochombe.
You can't, we are robbing this town. You can't be
I'm looking for a house. Hi, councillor, I'm looking. Just because, no, you can take it, I can't, where am I getting a house?
So you can't.
I must take, I become a councillor, I must take a house. I can't take a house from anyone. I don't, leave my church on back, hey, leave my church on back, guys, it's fine. We will take this thing off, I will move now. You're gonna talk about my church on back?
Do you have your guards outside your shed?
There is one in front and one at the back. Councillor, come, then we go to the next presentation. I bought that thing for 25,000 rand, it's my church on back, this one. Let's go.
Mr. Speaker, I think the presentation and actually the practical demonstration of how the meter looks like and the explanation of the usage, the reading data, how the issue works would also be very much needed in our public participation rollout. Because that would give the consumers
An idea.
idea and speak to the fears that people have. So I just wanted to ask Franson and to you, Speaker, that, you know, when we roll out our public participation, that we also do the practical demonstrations.
Thanks to you, Speaker. Well, we have done that. Even in the briefing sessions, in the IDP meetings. We tried to explain how the meters work, but that we explained, we're coming back with a detailed explanation. Because it's lost in the IDP meetings. We need a focused meeting with that. But I've also got some draft pamphlets that I would appreciate your inputs on, which also gives you a very, very clear explanation of how the meters work. Because that would be one of the first things that we would do with public participation. Obviously, these are in English. They'll be done in all three official languages of the Western Cape. But that is the intention.
Thank you. We will go now to the next presentation, which will be Mr. Jermaine Kibido. Yes, Angela, if you want to be excused, you can.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity and the time.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you. Mr. Jermaine?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. It's good to be here as well. So this morning, I am also going to speak on the implementation or the progress in terms of the electricity smart deployment or smart meters, if you will. There was an item that was submitted to council that touches on this, and I was then asked to come and do a presentation in light of the project. So let's go back to the previous slide. Yes, so that's just an outline of what I'm going to look at, and it's to speak in terms of what the problem statement is, what the solution is, and I'm just going to touch on how it works. And then we will discuss some advantages and disadvantages. Now we will roll this out going forward. So if you go to the next slide, you will see that Bitou has got about 13,000, almost 13,000 electricity at the moment, of which almost 4,000 consists of credit meters, which includes bulk meters as well. So there's not a lot of bulk meters, but the majority of the 4,000 is credit meters. So that's an old, this conventional meters, as you would see on the picture there on the second bullet point. And then we've got about 9,000 prepayment meters being installed within the entire area. But we've also seen an increase in what we call SSET. It's a policy that has been adopted by council in 2019, which is small scale embedded generation. We've seen an influx of people putting solar plants on their roofs. And then if you see on the right side there, there's some challenges with regards to what we are facing at the moment. So as Franson has also pointed out, a huge challenge is holiday houses that we don't have access to the meters, and then we can't read the meters, and estimates become a problem for those houses. And there's a lot of meter queries that comes through on a regular basis, and therefore not all meters are being read on a monthly basis. We also know that the electromechanical meters, the same second picture there, the disk meters, that's fairly old, right? It has been here for quite a while. And then the last thing that I mentioned is that the SSEG, what happens with the SSEG is that when there's excess electricity that the household is not using, and you've got an old type meter, the meter will start running in reverse and it will mess up your meter reading for a particular month, right? So if the meter starts running in reverse, the accuracy of your billing is also impacted, and that's why it's important to address this as well. So if you go to the next slide, so what would be a possible solution? What we have done is that with the technological advances, in the electricity industry, there is something called advanced meter infrastructure, or AMI for short, which is almost like a whole value chain of how you make your meters more smart, something similar to the person that you presented. But what is interesting is that when I started here in 2018, one of my first projects was to start with AMR. Now, what AMR is, it is automated meter readings, and we rolled that out for all our bulk meters. So I can safely say after 3 years today, that all our bulk meters now, there's about 110, 114 of consumers, are now all being read remotely. So there is no more meter readers that goes to check our bulk meters. And I know that this picture here it might not be the best, but that is stats of this morning of one of our hotels, Essence Hotel, and you can see a list here. It's quite a long list, and that is all the meters in our town that we have access to as we speak. I can go onto my laptop and I can see exactly what is the consumption at a particular time. So that is what we've done already. And now what we're saying, we want to roll that out a bit further. Let's go to the next slide. This slide is actually our ESCOM meters. So we've got check meters as well on our side, where we check that whatever ESCOM bills the municipality is actually accurate. And we've had some queries with ESCOM using this. Now, this is all of the income, squad income, and the main income that we are already reading at the moment. Let's go to the next slide. So obviously the aim is then to take our existing prepayment and our existing credit meters to make them smart as well, so that we can have the same sort of functionality. Now, the existing prepayment meters, the majority comes from Conlock. We've got some landers and gear meters as well, but the majority comes from Conlock. And they are also capable of becoming smart. That's what I've been told by the service provider, and we are working on a pilot there as well. But the credit meters, the old disk meters, the credit meters, that is not capable of being smart at all. It's just an old electromechanical disk meter, so you can't do anything with that meter. So in order for that to become smart, we will have to convert all of them, right? Which is close to 4,000 in total. So what we are doing now is that we're running a pilot project with the landers and gears. So if you go to the next slide, how does this work then? Let's go to the next slide. Okay. So how does this work is that on my right-hand side there, type of meters, we've started to install these meters as well in our network, right? So there is these kind of landers and gear meters. There is a split meter that can work as a prepaid meter or a postpaid meter. So it can be either of the two. And so they then communicate with what we call a data concentrator. Now we will see in some pictures later how this goes. And they've got a communication medium called PLC, or power line carrier. They communicate to the data concentrator. It can range between, I think 150 meters can safely communicate to one device, right? And then this device, through a GSM network, can then communicate to what we call a head-end system or a HES system. Now, that is where all the smart functionality is. Now, at the moment, we already have some hardware that we've purchased, and we've purchased data concentrators because it's on a tender already. The thing that we don't have and what we are trying to implement is this green bar here on top, which is called the head-end system. In order for us to make the meter smart, we will have to convert the hardware, introduce data concentrators, and then also a software system that speaks to the meter the whole time. similarly to what I've shown in the AMR space, right? So that's what we're trying to achieve. So just next slide. Sorry for this busy slide, but this I got from the service provider. What this allows, and remember I mentioned the challenge about the holiday houses. The biggest reluctance from the holiday houses is that, or the owners, is that they don't want to go prepayment meters because there's nobody at the house to punch in the token and make sure that there is electricity in the house. So if there's nobody in the house that punches in the token, the electricity will shut down and then the house will be without electricity. So it's not feasible maybe for them to go on prepaid. But with this solution, what they are saying is that because you've got this infrastructure already, if you get a head-end system implemented in the municipality, that head-end system will be able to integrate into your vending system that will allow you to purchase a token and load it automatically onto the meter. Okay, so if you sit in Europe or you sit in New Zealand and you've got a house in the cliff, you are able to buy a token if you have the software application. It's just an application that you can download, and that will allow you then to purchase electricity from everywhere, and it will automatically load onto the meter. But if that is an uncomfortable situation for them, it can always be just in normal post or credit meter monitoring. It's almost similar to what Francois has mentioned, okay? So it doesn't mean that we have to force it. Although the item has that I wrote suggested that we put all people on payment mode, the option still exists for those customers to stay on credit mode. And then the beauty of this is that we will then be able to read their consumption remotely as well. And we will see that later in some of the slides that I will show. Okay, so just go to the next slide. So we've got a pilot project, like I mentioned, and this is actually really, it's pictures of where we have installed the data concentrator, which is on the left, and then we've installed this meters, the smart meters that we are dealing with at the moment. And so this meters is currently online, and this meters, we can see the consumption of all those customers. At the moment, they are in postpaid mode. They're not in prepaid mode. They're in postpaid mode so that we can see the functionality of the head-end system. Okay, so can we just go to the next slide? I think that there is two of the same pictures so that they can get a better idea. Let's go to the next slide. So on this slide, what you will see here is this is now the data concentrator that shows the status of the meters the entire time, right? So the entire time it communicates with the meter, and we have low profile data of every 30 minutes. It gathers information of the consumption. So this green here on the left-hand side shows that all these meters are active. The moment it becomes non-active or there's no electricity on that meter, let's say there's a power failure, it will change color and it will go red. It will show that it is offline, and we can then go and investigate what is happening to that meter. Okay. The good news about that is as well is that when you're in, you can analyze the data as well. So in this, we'll see go to the next slide. So this slide now shows energy consumption, which is the unit measure. There you've got the meter, there you've got the dates, and that is 30-minute intervals. And that is the watt hours that is being used. That is calculated delta, and unit of measure is watt hours. So we normally buy electricity in kilowatt hours, and that is the consumption that is then loaded or measured the entire time. So when you want to do billing, it will be much more accurate because you know it measures every 30 minutes, whatever the consumption is. Just go to the next slide. What this is, this was actually a very neat feature for us as the electrical engineers, is that when the meter also measures the quality of the supply. We had an instance where we had, sorry, not the meter, it is the head-end system measures the quality of supply. We had an incident, I think 2 weeks ago, where we picked up that the voltage was imbalanced on the meters. And as a result of that, when we investigated, we saw that the mini sub has got some problems, and we were able to replace the mini sub because to make the voltage levels come to its proper standards again. So it gives us much more information than just on the one side of the customer. Next slide. And there is a typical monthly reading for the month of July for that particular meter. So this information will then be sent to the billing department, and the meter's accuracy is much more, it's better. It's better for that. So some of the advantages, we will be able to do tamper detection because the moment the meter gets tampered with, we will see, right? There will be remote readings for all postpaid customers. So I'm going in the clockwise direction. So the remote reading shows that we can do billing automatically, just like we are currently doing with the bulk meters. There will be remote tokens that you can purchase, so you can be anywhere, and so you buy tokens. It will give us an opportunity to do it in data analytics, which we really would love to do. It will help our revenue protection team that we've got, because now we don't have to go out all the time and inspect all the areas. We can just look at the information, and then it will tell us where we need to focus our efforts. Disconnections and reconnections is also a big thing. So if you are in arrears, guess what? By push of a command on the system, the income department can sit right there, send a signal, and the meter will be disconnected automatically. If they pay the account, the meter will be reconnected automatically. That's all things that we've tested. As I mentioned, the quality of supply, that is a good plus for us. And then also another important advantage is that we will be able to read import and export energy separately. So the days where the meter runs in reverse will then be over. Okay, so those are some of the advantages. What are some of the disadvantages? And I know Councillor Polwaki was asking about this. Currently, we have not as yet tested the integration because it's a pilot project. The service provider is a bit reluctant to do so. They've got their own software, their own vending system. But we would say to any service provider, if we were to go out on tender, you will have to integrate into our existing vending system. And they say it's just a matter of doing some development behind the scenes, and then they will be able to integrate into our current vending system. Another disadvantage is that from time to time, there might be communication failures, networks are down, but that is to be expected because we also have that with our AMR from time to time, but we resolve that as well. And then we've got meter readers, right? What do you do with your meter readers? Because they will not be needed anymore if all of your meters are online. So what we were suggesting is to say, listen, because our audit team at the moment is so small, we've got a very small audit team, it is possible to upskill the meter readers so that they can also start inspecting meters with us if there is a need for that. But that is not, that is just a suggestion. It could be something that we can look at. And the specialized skills that we need to be requiring for this kind of work. With the AMR at the moment that we've got with our bulk meters, we are already upskilling our own staff because in the next 3 years will be our last test with the service provider. Then we will go independent with AMR. So I think just to go, my last slide will be a way forward. What are we busy with now? We are also working with Conlock. The pilot we have run is with Landers and Gear. We are also dealing with Conlock to test their data concentrators because we already have it on our tender and to see if it will integrate into the same head-end system. The tender for the meters has already served on VSC. It's just going through the process. And we've already included this because we already use the same hardware. We don't want to purchase different hardware, and then when we do smart meters, we would have to go there again and sort of run with the meter already, but it just works as a regular meter at the moment. Staff must be trained to operate and maintain the sophisticated software. And then we also started talking already in the public meetings, but this is something that we will also do once we get the go-ahead or approval from council to do this, so that we can really inform the public before we roll this out. And as I said last year, that the meter division will have to be retrained on the system with managing the data analytics. So that's my story. I thank you for the time.
Thank you, Jermaine. Is there any questions? Okay. Mr. Wada?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to add to what Jermaine said, in response to Councillor Bota's earlier question on the water meters. In this case, Councillor Bota, that the users have access on the devices to see what they use throughout the day. Very important point, Jermaine hasn't elaborated on it, but is that export and import functionality the meters had. You will remember that when the President spoke the other day, he was talking about municipalities cannot buy from customers. This allows that. So this meter, instead of the old meter turns back, it actually captures all your consumption into registers. So you will be able to see what the customer has exported and paying for them, and what is imported, or do the deduction. We have a policy on some of those matters. Also allows, this meter also provides functionality where Transland's water meters can feed into this meter and push up to a hidden unit, as Jermaine said. Another functionality of this is the load shedding. Now, initially in the earlier days of load shedding, Eskom had asked customers to please cut your power by 10%. So other towns had put what they call load management, not now load management, but what do you call it? Not load, triple control. What it does, they send a signal and all the geysers switch off. And if that is 10%, the town don't get switched off. Many municipalities didn't have it, others had fallen dysfunctional. This meter also allows you to do that. So Eskom come to us and say, we want a load set, and it's, instead of cutting your whole town, if you can give us 20% of your load, we could possibly switch off all the geysers in town, but your house is still working. You know that. So it allows you that functionality as well.
Thank you, Mr. Wada. Thank you. There's no other questions. Is there any questions? Free. Jermaine, thank you. Let's then with the presentations. Thank you for that information. We'll move now to point 8. Point 8 is the items for information which has been dealt with by the executive mayor in terms of delegated authority. Items for information. Resolution by the mayoral committee of its meeting held on 2022, 22nd of June. Deputy Mayor, is there?
No, there's nothing correspondence from on this item.
Information purpose, thank you. We'll move to point 9. Outstanding resolutions, partially implemented council resolutions. Sorry, just a moment. Do you want to speak to this, Councillor Botha? Okay, well, let me just open it then. We are on point 9. Okay, the one that was sent has been amended. It has been corrected. Updated, sorry. Just need to get that. It has been updated. Councillor Botha, I see you wanted to ask around this.
Thank you, Speaker. I just don't know now what I was querying has been updated. So if it has been querying, if it has been updated, then please just bear with me and then just confirm. I just had two queries. The one was on the emergency housing, and now obviously it's gone into its own separate report by province. But I just wanted to know if we had any confirmation as to how many complete units were actually left over that could be put together, or if there were none. I couldn't remember if we'd done that. And then second, we are working on the policy for the mayor's special fund. How far are we to workshop in that or to see that come up through council again?
Thanks. In terms of the emergency housing, correct me, I think it's supposed to be 69 in total. I was 48, 49 that was done.
Yeah. So there's none.
So there's none that has been done after we made the chairperson last time here and so there's none that has been constructed. The emergency policy of the mayor, we're trying to arrange a workshop, not only for that, for all other resolution of council where matters have been referred for a workshop. We're looking at between the 11th and the 12th of August, so that it can go to council at the end of August. It's almost completed. We just have to secure the date for the workshop. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Botha. Any other? Nothing? Then move to point 10. The undelegated matters portfolio of index. That will start with the Office of the Municipal Manager. First item is the approval of IDP process plan and IDP budget time schedules. Item C, stroke 1, stroke 70, stroke 07, stroke 22. The item starts on page 48 to page 111. Item is now serving. Councillor Nel.
Speaker, I propose that we take note of this and that we accept this. This is, in essence, the alignment of the IDP with the provincial and district IDPs. It's not any changes to what we have done. It's just to align these IDPs.
Proposed that by Councillor Nel that we, Councillor Olivier.
I second that.
Seconded by Councillor Olivier. Next item. Item C, stroke 1, stroke 71, stroke 07, stroke 22. Ascending of council resolution on item C, stroke 164, stroke 0622. And approving new resolution. The item is on page 112 to page 115. The item is now serving. Amen.
Speaker, I just wanted to explain, there was a council resolution that was taken in terms of the investigation that needs to happen as per that item. Unfortunately, when I was trying to set up a team internally, because the mayor requested an internal investigation, all the people that were approached have indicated that they would prefer not to get involved on any investigation in relation to matters that are dealt with for housing, because you remember the issue added the issue of decanting and coloring. So they said they want to be excused. They requested the municipal manager to excuse themselves. They are willing to do all other investigations. Then I have people that I could not appoint, which would potentially be people that must be interviewed for this process. So hence I brought the item back to council to say it's difficult to implement the resolution. It's going to be unimplementable, the resolution internally. So the request is that council must then receive a decision because of the risks that I have stated, that people feel uncomfortable in relation to investigation as it relates to housing matters. Council to receive that decision and then council resolve to request, because we don't have money that we have put aside for this investigation, to request provincial. I always confuse national and provincial. In the provincial department is the Department of Planning, Development and Local Government. So you just have to correct the name at number 3 to mean the provincial government department for local government to do the investigation for us and report back to council. That in that way, it's not going to cost any money to council. Thanks.
Thank you, Amen. Councillor Nel, Councillor Botha, Councillor Koloapi.
Speaker, I propose with recognition of the fact that we should correct recommendation number 3 to read the Ministry of Local Government. I propose that we go with the recommendation of the municipal manager.
Proposed by Councillor Nel with the adjustments of the COCTA. Provincial government. Councillor Botha.
I'm not sure why we are looking at rescinding the whole resolution. I mean, if we look at what has been raised, is that it's a disciplinary, that we cannot put together a disciplinary board to look at the Kolweni decanting, which was referred to the disciplinary board. Point 1 should still stand, point 2 should still stand, and point 4 should still stand. That's my belief. We should just be rescinding point 3. And the way that it reads doesn't read as that, because we're rescinding the whole resolution. And then we're not re-implementing point 1, point 2, and point 3.
If you know, let me take Councillor Kolwapi.
Yes, thank you, Speaker. It's the same concern that when we say we are rescinding the whole item, it means it's as if now there was nothing done. And if this council can remember, we were concerned that we've tried to look and interrogate all of these matters, but still can. As an MPEG, we don't have a right to say our resolution, our recommendation need to be accepted whether we like it or not. But nevertheless, we are here now. But we are saying, can we pinpoint things that we think they need to be rescinded in this item? Because there are things that we still feel that the decision, the resolution that we did, we've put our whole effort into to look at it so it can be looked at and we can rescind some of the bullets in there, and also allowing that when the external investigators come. It is of worry to hear that some of the things there, they couldn't be done as an internal investigation because the officials, some felt that we can't touch the other things because of lives and whatever things. It gives me as a chairperson the point of saying, seemingly us as MPEC, we are at danger. Somehow people understand that we're at danger of something of which us as MPEC, we're not even aware. We were taking the fact that we need to work on these things, whether we're in danger or not. Not even a case that comes. So I think somehow, I'm sure it was good that to check the officials so that we can see that there's danger that is there when it comes to MPEC. And this council need to take that into cognizance. So my point, what arose from me out of all this, it was the fact that seemingly there's danger that us as MPEC, that this council need to take into cognizance. And 2, we need that to say some of the bullets there, they need not to be rescinded. Only this, the fact that decanting needs to go to disciplinary and it needs a private investigation that can be incorporated to save money. But to think that the internal investigation, we needed to know who's going to do internal investigation.
Let me first give to then Councillor Olivier.
Chair, oversight from my side, the councillor may be correct. I just want to quickly, the minutes in front of us in terms of that resolution number 1 spoke about the internal investigation being conducted on legal. If you remember that, then Councillor Mhlana spoke, and that's why we then had to at number 3 that the Kolweni also must be then investigated. So I think number 1 and number 2 of that needs to be rescinded because sorry, number 3 needs to be rescinded because that has to do with the decanting of the colony housing. That's number 3. Yeah, that's number 3.
Is it because it's inclusive to the province of decanting?
Yes. I'll just be with you now, Councillor Nel. The point for clarity, Councillor?
Sorry, yeah. On the point for clarity, point 1 is referring to, sorry, I'm now going back. Point 1 is referring to all the expenditure that we recommended for write-off, at which I'm quite certain that there was the legal, where it was on contract for the 3-year tenders. And I believe that that's what the mayor was questioning about, which as impact, we questioned multiple times. We were satisfied, however, the mayor raised it that he wasn't satisfied and he wanted internal investigation. And that, I believe, was the only thing that he was referring to. So everything was written off, was agreed by council. However, he wanted further clarity on only the legal issues. Then there was point 2 was for recoveries. And even in point 3, there were 2 or 3 matters, I stand corrected, that were referred to the disciplinary board. And so the decanting of the Kolweni 234 non-qualifiers was only one of the issues. And if that is the one issue that the disciplinary board is not willing to sit on, and I understand their concerns and I understand your concern, and I also understand Councillor Mwaba's concerns, then so be it. But there were other issues there that didn't have to do with housing. So I think this needs to be looked at quite carefully to see how we determine what gets rescinded. Because the complaint that's been, that you've put forward is that we cannot put a disciplinary board together for the Kolweni issue. And that was only one issue. In my mind, the rest of the stuff must stay.
Okay, Edmund?
Chair, other, if you does not get it correctly, the other matters stay in relation to the issue of Kolweni. In the first issue, it reads that an internal investigation be conducted in regard to legal services. There's nobody who said that they're not going to do, so we'll continue with that process in terms of resolution 1. Then resolution 3 spoke about the issue of investigation, unless I understood it correctly. Investigation, and it was when you refer to the disciplinary board, there must be an investigation that is then referred to the disciplinary board. That is where the staff internally are uncomfortable because that investigation relates to the issue of decanting in Kolweni, which is related to housing and all of that. So that is the one that we are asking that Promise must do that and then that report to the disciplinary board with their findings to then continue. So it's not the disciplinary board, but it's the staff that must do the investigation and the information internally in order to provide a report to the disciplinary board. Unless the intention was for the disciplinary board to do that investigation, then there's no need to rescind the decision. Then you can just go to the disciplinary board.
I stand corrected, and I'm quite certain that there were 2 or 3 issues that were to be going to the disciplinary board. And then Kolweni was one of those.
So can I request here that we stand off this item? Then I quickly check the recommendations of MPEG in line with this, so that we are on the same page, because this is a resolution of council as it stands there. That is the one that I'm saying that is difficult to implement, considering that people are comfortable to do an investigation on the Kolweni project,
Let me just give to the other councillor Olaf
Can I
here.
give direction, MM?
Sorry, just a moment. Let me first give to councillor Olaf here. Who's on the mic?
It's legal manager.
Councillor Secretary, do you want to listen to what Lavoyo is or do you want to continue? Mr. Lavoyo, continue.
I just want to give direction in terms of the powers of the disciplinary board. The investigation element is one of the responsibilities that the disciplinary board has. So if the matter is referred to disciplinary board, they investigate the alleged conduct and then they take action in terms of the outcome that they find on their investigation. So it's one of the responsibilities that the board can do.
Is that it? Thank you, Mr. Loliwe.
They investigate.
I don't know, you wanted to give them.
I wanted to give to Councillor Olaf here, Councillor Nyal, and then Councillor Kamkam.
Speaker, I now need clarity on what are we actually saying, because now we're having a lot of discussions around this. So I want to understand what are the recommendations now, because the NMS said a few things, council has said a few things. Can we just get understanding of what we actually now going to do with this item.
Councillor Nyal and then Councillor Kamkam.
Mr. Speaker, can we just roll down to the recommendation of the municipal manager again, please? Because I think perhaps we're going too far with this thing.
Yeah.
I think we might just need one to look at.
You want to go first, Councillor Kamkam?
Can
Can we go to the recommendations of the municipal manager? Is that what you're asking, Councillor Nyal? It's on.
Point three says that we ask council to resolve to refer the matter to the Ministry of Local Government. And that does, we're not actually saying that it might be continued.
I can't hear you.
Chair, thanks, Chair. Maybe let's go back quickly for the benefit of the MPAC committee members. Start with the resolution of the council that everyone has a picture in terms of that. It's contained here attached. So resolution number 1 said council write off the expenditure outlined in Annexure A with consequence management subject to an internal investigation to be conducted on the legal services expenditure. Okay? So go to Annexure A now. That was attached by MPAC. There is Annexure A. Those are the items that in Annexure A, MPAC recommended to council that they be written off. Are we on the same page there? So those matters are actually resolved through the recommendations of MPAC to council for council to write off, and council has agreed to write off subject to matters that are contained there which are related to legal services. In terms of what the mayor has said and was seconded, I can't remember Councillor Porter, that those matters be done an internal investigation. So that's the first one. And then let's go quickly to the resolution number 2, that the municipal manager immediately implement consequence management to recover the expenditure reflected in Annexure B. There's no dispute in terms of this one. I think we are understanding Annexure B. So that is Annexure B will thus institute a disciplinary process of consequence management to recover. Then go to resolution number 3, that the expenditure listed in Annexure C, as well as the information which relates to the decanting of Kolweni non-qualifiers, it is a memo circulated as a memo with the agenda. You will see that's a memo that was circulated for you and MPAC explaining all the reasons that were given in terms of how the money was spent and what has happened. Be referred for investigation / disciplinary board. So this is where I want us to find each other, Chairperson of MPAC and Councillor Porter. Maybe there seems to be a confusion. Now, if you look at that, that is the one that I'm saying. My understanding was that that must be done, investigated internally. And then I'm saying after then I was trying to set up a team to investigate that. Then I got an indication in terms of issues of safety concern and all of those issues which are raised. And Councillor Kolapi, I'll come, I'll only speak to you and the MPAC members in terms of what has been raised by the officials in relation to your safety. Something that I have to protect and not openly discuss with everyone. So that is the one that I'm saying. Then my understanding is that we'll see that so that we refer to provincial government to actually do that investigation and then give the report to the disciplinary board. But equally, if we meant, as Novuyo said, because the disciplinary board may equally do the investigation themselves. So we can just say that the disciplinary board must do that investigation actually itself. You know, the issue is again, in terms of when we said investigation / disciplinary, what did we mean? That's what maybe we have to clarify. You know, when I wrote the items, I was on understanding that it must not cost council any further money now. Provincial government can do the investigation for us without cost to council and give the disciplinary board a report of which the disciplinary board will then start to look at the report and then deal in terms of the powers and the next process that needs to be done. So that's what the item is. But I hope clarifies the matter now.
Thank you. I think that's clear. Let me just give to Mr. Luvuyo, just hold on.
The main function of the disciplinary board is to do investigations. So you will be disabling the disciplinary board if you take the issue of investigation away from them. Then what will be left in their function is to monitor the institution of the disciplinary processes. Because those are the only functions that they have, is to investigate the alleged allegations and to monitor the institution of the disciplinary processes. That's all they do. Thank you.
Chair, let me not get into that situation now. The resolution says investigation stroke disciplinary board. We just have to clarify in terms of that, whether we meant the investigation to be done internally, which is what I understood, and then it's what I'm reporting that the people actually feel uncomfortable in terms of doing that. Whether that matter then can be referred. I don't know if there's anything wrong if Province does that investigation without any cause for us, whether we should have any fear if Province does. It doesn't matter whether the disciplinary board does it or Province does it. When the disciplinary board does it, there's cost implication in terms of them traveling and dealing with all of those issues. So that's what I wanted us to understand in terms of that resolution. When we crafted that resolution, stroke disciplinary board, my understanding was that it must be done by internally. The mayor can maybe speak on this item. So that's why I'm bringing this item. If the intention was very clear that it must be done straight to the disciplinary board, then this item is not actually needed. Thanks.
Councillor Kamkam.
The confusion is the heading that says rescinding of council resolutions, which means point number 1, point number 2, and point number 3. So in the first place, the item was not written correctly. There's where the confusion comes in, because if we say rescinding, it means rescinding the council. All 3 of those decisions are no longer valid. And instead we are saying we are accepting now. Can we go to the new resolutions? We are now accepting.
One and two.
And then council takes note of the reasons why it's not implementable. Then listen all of those decisions. And the only thing we are saying is that we are now resolving to request provincial COPTA to investigate and report back on council on its findings and recommendations. So, Amen. You have stated that the only challenge is the decanting one with all the other items. Number 1, there's not a problem. Am I correct? Because number 2, let me go to the old resolution.
Amended.
I've got it here on my tablet.
Correct, Councillor. Number 1 and number 2 are correct.
Number 3 is the only resolution that needs to be amended.
If we're rescinding number 3, it's the only one that we actually then be rescinding. Then it will say that council resolution number only number 3.
Thank you.
But only if that intention was to do the investigation internally.
On the old resolutions?
The council one.
Yes. Yes. It says that the expenditures listed in Annex C, it's not separate, as well as the information which relates to the decanting of the 2, 3, 4 non-qualifiers circulated as a memo with the agenda be referred for investigation, stroke disciplinary board. So the last part of point number 3, in actual fact, if we go to the new item, Point number one is supposed to be the same. Resolution number one is supposed to be the same. Resolution number two is supposed to be the same. And we're just supposed to change the last part of resolution number three.
Correct.
That's the only amendment that is needed, just the last sentence. If I read it correctly, I was not in that meeting, but if I read the item, that's what I see. And that's what I would propose. And let me change the heading of the item.
You on the one for a point of clarity, Councillor Kolwa, please?
Even in bullet number one, you will find that still as we unpack, we've got questions about it. How is it going to be done internally? Because whilst I was about to write a report for APEC, where we have to account the work of MPEC, what we have done, it's when it dawns to us that the resolution, the proposal that was done, that besides these legal items that needs to be investigated, as per the mayor, that was not happy with the items that were right off. There was no specific directive that internally who's gonna do it, this investigation, so that we are to a point that even asked to MM, I understand that the resolution was saying that since the EE Council was not happy with all the write-offs from Annexure A, who's gonna do the investigation, the internal investigation? It's when then it came to dawn that even so, people are not willing to do this, and it's gonna cost us if we get into internal and whatever. That's why we're here now. We want even a very specific clarification, even at point one. If we say that there's an internal investigation, who's gonna do it? When it's gonna done? How is it gonna cost and whatever? So that even in those items, we need to have clarity. We need to have it. Let's go to three. Even in three, we did list all the things that were supposed to go to disciplinary, security things, and also the decanting and all those things that were under unauthorized items. We list them as we unpack those things. But it's fine. OMM then said, because it's gonna cost, so rather really it goes to Copter. I do concur with the Councillor Jessica that the term rescinding was too heavy for all these things. It's more like, let's look and declare more how the internal processes are going to be taken place. Thirdly, which was that they go strictly to Copter, and also they supersede the disciplinary board of this council. They go straight to Copter while dealing with section 106, so to say. So this is the case that we want exactly to know. How do we deal with those things? Not rescinding.
I will allow MM, then we need to.
On the first one, Councillor Mosi, the resolution says that in the investigation be done on the legal services. So I don't want to assume that's what we have to correct. That investigation, I think we must state, instead of saying we received bulletin point number one, and then we put a new resolution which says that investigation be conducted on legal services by a disciplinary board. If that's what we are saying, then it's clear, specific in terms of what is that. And capture that in terms of that one and put it for us in the board and see we reading it correctly. Yes. Okay. So that council rescind resolution. Yeah, where you were now? Sorry. Just give you 2 minutes. All right. Then we are specific in terms of resolution one, in terms of who must do that investigation. So it is right will do that investigation. Then we go to resolution 3, where we say we rescind a resolution. And for Councillor Michelle.
Just hold on. One point of clarity or?
I just want to clarify.
Just for a point of clarity, that's it.
Secretary, thank you, Chair. Thank you, MM. Just to clarify as point of impact, those three issues, two listed in annexure and then all the information pertaining to the decanting, we refer them to the disciplinary. So it's I can see where nuances where it's / investigation, but the intention was to always refer them to the disciplinary board themselves to do the investigation. That's just to clarify that.
Then Councillor Nyao.
Okay, so let's deal with the first one, in terms of that internal, I'll come to that Councillor Porter now, because we've got the recommendation. So we're dealing with recommendations of MPEG, which council made another recommendation, approval from that. That's what we have to take into account, because council did not accept as it is the recommendations of MPEG, hence we're reading from the council item. But the matter is not, so complicated and resolving, so that council resolution, received resolution 1 and 3 title, it should read 1 and 3, and then that on resolution 1, let me say that on resolution 1 that the matters of legal services will be referred to the disciplinary board for investigation, because but that is a resolution of council.
Is that what the mayor wanted?
So go back on the resolution, just check Councillor Porter. No, just on this one. Yeah. It says that the internal investigation be conducted on the legal services expenditure. So you can annex A with all the things that you are actually writing off. But further to that, write off. You then asking for only specifically on the legal services matter to still do a further investigation. This is the recommendation of council.
Yes. What degree that investigation was to be done, I don't know. I cannot school that from council. It was, the disciplinary board wasn't mentioned.
But that's what we're trying to clarify now, because I'm saying when I went back.
Can we have a look at the mayor's message?
No, the last sentence, it says, so item 3 in the resolution is rescinded and replaced with a new recommendation. It's all this last check.
But we don't have to complicate it. If item number 1, the intention of the MPEG is that it must be done. The disciplinary board is the internal investigation. So I didn't touch on that item. I didn't say that item must be rescinded, because it's as well as taking those matters of legal and refer them to the disciplinary board, not another investigation. So that's what we have to clarify, that those matters of legal services be referred to the disciplinary board, which will do that investigation and report. As what MPEG actually referred to. The item that I'm talking about, which is number 3, is the one that I was under the impression that the investigation must be done also internally, which I was trying to set up a team to do that, and that team then indicated of concern on all of that. That's the one that we have to rectify. As Councillor Polaki said, if that needs to go to the disciplinary board, then we just change that bulletin number 4, that the decanting of colony and all of that expenditure, as in terms of that memo, be referred to the disciplinary board for investigation. That's all that we have to do, or we don't refer it to COPTA. I was under the impression that there must be an internal first investigation and then a report be given on that. So that's the only thing that needs to be rectified.
Councillor Nyao.
Speaker, there is a lot of argument and all of our semantics. The thing is, where we are good, council is specific here. There was a resolution part. So we are rescinding, and I think that is where we have to rescind only. I think we should defer this item back to the administration and bring it back. To give us the opportunity to fix the wording.
That's awesome. There's a proposal that we refer back or we amend as resolution 3.
I think we've exhausted so much in the item already that we can't get the direction in terms of what amendments needs to be made with regards to the bullet 1 and bullet 3. So now saying setting it back for it to be done right, I mean, we've done the job already.
But there's a shorter way to do this then, and that is, let us take a break for 10 minutes and fix the wording and come back, so that we comply to all the legal requirements. Because we are messing around here with a position where we are actually going to sophisticated.
The heading. I'm granting you 10 minutes. No, wait.
Could it not be minimized to what this old man just said? Because point is, we've exhausted 45 minutes in this item, and now there's a sense of direction, which being we're not rescinding the entire item. However, we need to fine tune point 1 and point 3, and the team at the back has done that already. So I'm not sure why now must we actually jump to whatever the council is saying. I mean, we're clear already. I think everyone gets here that what was actually misrepresented here was that the item was rescinded as is. The idea is to actually rescind to fine tune point 1 and 3.
Thank you, Councillor.
Does not require us to actually take a break.
Speaker. Councillor, I would allow you 1 minute.
Speaker, I don't know whether wrong or what. There was an item. It comes back to council. There was an item that we agreed upon as council. Now that item is coming back. It says the item that the council must rescind that item. Can you call what is the item number?
C/164,
0622.
06.
06, yeah.
Now we've got another item for rescindment. That is item 3/1/71/07 and /22. Now, as council, when it comes to rescindment, as council, we must take a decision. A majority must rescind an item based on valid reasons. Then if the executive summary that is written here make us all understand and say we are then going to rescind this item, we can do so. If then the majority of councillors are saying no, then we're going to leave it as it is. Because we want to rescind a whole item. We can't take an item of the last council meeting and bring it here and again want to take bits and pieces out and put others in. Rather, rescind the whole item, or we say we don't rescind the item. Finish and clear. If then is that so, let's take the rules of order on how to rescind an item, because this item has came to another council meeting. That item was approved in another council meeting.
Thank you, Councillor. I will grant you 10 minutes, then we will come back again. Thank you. See you in 10 minutes' time. of us. Do we all agree?
in front of us.
But something that must be brought up.
Please read what is in front of us. Has been resolved. Can we go with it?
What's Bill Neil saying?
What you saying, Beanie?
What's Labota?
Saying,
If that's correct.
It's correct, yeah.
Yeah.
brilliant.
So with Councillor Nyao, you propose that?
Proposed with the amendment as reflected on the board.
So Councillor Botha seconded. Thank you, Councillor Botha. We move on to the next section.
Next.
Finance.
It is section 2, finance. First item, it's item C, stroke 2, stroke 57, stroke 06, stroke 22. The report on the implementation of the supply chain management policy for the fourth quarter, 1st of April to 30th of June. The item is on page 117 to 160. The item is now serving. The recommendations is on screen. Is that the correct? Can we go with the recommendations? Councillor Kamkam?
Speaker, I propose that we go with the recommendations. I don't know if anyone needs clarity on point on recommendation number 3. But the reason why that recommendation was added, because in previous financial years, there was a query regarding sales. So we don't know if that matter that was investigated has been resolved. That's why point number 3 was recommended. So I propose that we go with the recommendations by the Executive Mayor.
Councillor Botha, see your hand is up.
Yeah, just asking. I've made a note and I think it's the date, February. It says 7th of November.
Yes,
I believe it should probably say 11th of July. So I think the date is just putting through incorrectly. So that can be looked at and then.
Thank you, Councillor Botha. Seconded by Councillor Botha. Move on to the next item, item C, 2, stroke 58, stroke 07, stroke 22. The environment report for the quarter ending 30th of June 2022. You would find the item on page 161 to 164. The item is now serving. Emil?
Just a correction on the attachment annexure. The last page, you will notice there that it's saying 106 taken to higher charges. 106, I can't see but it's 106 and something taken to higher charges. And on the other side, you also see 106. So if you add the debits and the credits in accounting, it does not add up. So it's an error. It's supposed to be in total 216,013 that was taken to higher charges to accommodate for the invoices for the storage of the solar diesel. That was the reasons for that environment because we have to pay. So the total will then add up on the debit and the credit to 216,013. So I just wanted to make that correction. Thanks.
Thank you, Emil. Councillor Kamkam?
With the corrections, because there was a query from my side, yeah, doesn't balance, and also explanation what the higher charges was for. So with the amendments, I propose that we go with the recommendations.
There's a proposal by Councillor Kamkam. Councillor Olivier?
I second that.
Seconded by Councillor Olivier. Third item. It is item C, stroke 2, stroke 59, stroke 07, stroke 22. The report on unauthorized expenditure 2021-2022, page 165 to 168. Can we, the item is serving, the recommendations is in front of us. Councillor Kamka?
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I would recommend that we go with the recommendations by the Executive Mayor. I just remembered something now, which relates to the previous item as well. This item, as well as the previous item, did not serve in the Finance Committee. So I was just want to bring it to the attention of the administration and municipal manager. These items, it hasn't served. I didn't go through the portfolios, but yeah. So I recommend that we go with the recommendations. Can we just note it and make sure that we submit items to the Section 80 committees?
Councillor Botha?
I concur with Councillor Kamkam, and then also again, just on the data discovery here, I don't know if we do 7 on November 22, must be July, 11th of July 22, and then I'll second it.
You got that one from Councillor Botha? Thank you. Seconded, then we, in raised by Councillor Botha, we will move. Next item. Item C, stroke 2, stroke 60, stroke 07, stroke 22. Cost containment report for the quarter ending 30 June 2022. You would find the item on page 169 to page 171. The item is serving. Can we go with the recommendations? Councillor Botha, then Councillor Kamkam.
I'm just not sure how these numbers add up. If you're looking at the budget, then you look at what was done in the actual, and then you look at the savings. They don't. I'm assuming it should be a landscape table, and the numbers don't add up at all, or deduct themselves nicely. So I don't know if we need to see these numbers again. Because I don't believe it's coming into the picture. Because if you look at the use of consultants, the budget is 24 million. Quarter 4 actuals is 9 million. And then our savings, if you scroll down to the next page, is 23 million. So that's not possible.
Yeah, they don't add up at all.
Are we looking?
Page 17.
Hoping to the first one. Let's go back on 170. That table says budget. Budget 2021-22 actuals. Quarter 4 only. Meaning it's speaking to April, May, and June only. Go to the next page in Annexure B. Annexure B speaks to the total, just hold it. Commitments in year report, so that's a total for the rest of the year, the savings for the rest of the year.
It confuses even.
Confuses.
It's very. When we deal with quarter 4 and again with the total of the year. For instance, if we look the same.
This report is
Councillor, your mic. Otherwise, Councillor, I won't recognize if you. Yes, you must switch on your mic. Thank you. Continue.
This table looks like it should be in an elongated landscape. It's in reflecting in the first column, 24 million. For example, just the use of consultants. In quarter 4 actual, which is 9 million, which is fine if it's only used in that quarter, but then there cannot be a saving of 23 million. Do you understand where I'm coming from? If the budget is 24 and we've already used 9 million in quarter 4, how can we have a saving of 23?
So let me look at this report in terms of the issue of the landscape, because I think we are referring to a quarter as well as the savings of the full year in terms of the reporting. I'll just request the department to put this in terms of one landscape. If I'm getting Councillor Maklawa is what you're saying,
Yeah, and is the budget then annual? The budget is quarterly on the top one.
On the 106, on the top one is quarterly only, So on the second one, you will see the total budget, it's was 106. I think it's 106 for the consultant for the rest of the full year on that one. But I take note, I'll correct, the report to make it sense.
Councillor Kamkam?
Are we referring it back or are we gonna make corrections? Because the table is also not nicely, the reporting is not, it's not in a way that it's logical, in a logical manner for you to understand with even the tables, whether you refer to the year, whether you refer to the quarter. So what I'm saying, are we going to refer this item back? Because you're saying you're going to correct. So if it needs to be corrected, if the table needs to be corrected, we cannot make a decision on it.
Okay. Because there's a comment by the mayor, council is not making a decision on this item, is noting it. So I can just in the next meeting provide clarity in terms of the table. That does not make sense because we're not saying that it's incorrect also. The table is supposed to be all together to give and the rest of the year. So that can be given clarity once that table is made to, what is the word that we're using? Councillor Porter Makamba? Landscape, yeah. But there's a comment by the mayor.
Executive Mayor?
In writing.
Say the first quarter four is for the quarter only and the second quarter for actuals. It's for the whole year.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. But still, the issue of the landscape, I think, is what's creating the confusion. So I'll correct that in the next debate.
We haven't made a proposal yet, eh? Sorry, Speaker. I'm just following the example of everyone else.
The item is still serving.
Can I then propose that we go with the recommendations with the amendment by the that we look at the style of reporting, the landscape.
Yeah. Councillor Botha? Seconded by Councillor Botha. Thank you. We move to the next item. The item C, /2/61/06/22, Section 71 report for the month of June 2022. You'd find the item on page 172 to page 273. The item is serving. Can we go with the recommendations?
Because just for council to note, these are not final figures for June because you still have the creditors which are being paid and processed now. So this will then be amended and changed in line with the financial statements. You know. But in terms of the reporting framework, we have to report 10 days after the end of the month.
Thanks, Councillor Kamka?
Reconciliation and second.
Thank you, Speaker. Once again, this item also did not serve on the portfolio committee. I propose that we take note of the Section 71 report.
Proposed by Councillor Kamkam. Let we go. Councillor Nell?
I'll second, Speaker.
Seconded by Councillor Nell. And there, the last item under Section 2, it's item C. /2/62/07/22. The Section 52 report for the month of June 2022. Item starts on page 274 to 377. Item is now serving. Can we go with the recommendations? Councillor Tsabai?
Speaker, on this item, I've picked up on refuse service. That we still have a problem, and it's very difficult. I don't know how to solve it, but we do have learned officials who must assist council. Because what I've read here is that there is divisions within the municipality in terms of addressing the issues. I don't know whether it's management and also the refuse revenue that should translate to a performance of 28%. we are not doing very well. The problem is that with the expenditure is only on overtime. We're not collecting the money that we are supposed to, but we pay more on overtime. Now, we picked up in the past, Speaker. I don't know how refuse removal is built. You go to, I'm going to leave household. You go to business. There are so many drums of waste there. And we take all that. Even if it's huge, we should add more in terms of charging. I think that is not being done. And also to households. People tend to abuse the municipality and put everything and pay less. Whereas, because the yardstick is that you'll find our workers doing like, because waste is too much, and yet we're not getting what we're supposed to get in terms of billing. So I looked at that, Speaker, and it really needs to be corrected. I'm happy that water services, what happened here in the morning, that we will be able to get what is due to us. Because some of the households also are robbing us off, because we are underperforming also on water services. These items, Speaker, are very important for council. We must scrutinize them at all costs, because they are the ones that are telling us, are we moving forward or backwards in terms, because if then we are a municipality that is not collecting revenue, we are underperforming, will then be in trouble in terms of collecting rates. So I wanted to put those things. And another one, it has been a headache for years, that the fines, the revenue from fines, official will say, no, we'll get, for instance, around about 300 million, but you'll find out that people go to court and instead of paying that fine of 700 rands, he or she gets to pay 200. So I think also we are losing revenue on that. I don't know our speed cameras. Yes, I'm seeing them on the road. But I don't know whether strategically they are not put on the right positions, because it's where we can get revenue. For that matter, in the past, used to be the one that gives us more money. I think also that department must put more emphasis on traffic and speed traps, because they give us more revenue. We were a town that was very scary. People scared if of Plettenberg Bay knives are moving forward about speed cameras, that you will be arrested on that side. And it was one of the towns that was assisting on revenue. So I wanted to put those emphasis, because thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Tabane. Councillor Botha.
So again, just on the one issue that picked up where it refers to performance bonus for senior managers. You just look at that because it looks, given what we had discussed in previous meetings, it does look a bit high. I'm not sure if that figure is correct. Let's just look into that.
Thanks, Speaker. Councillor Kabai is correct with regards to the refuse removal revenue. There are a number of reasons which we would report specifically in terms of those reasons in a separate item. Councillor Kabai does not come as part of Section 71. One of them interacted with the department and asked them, how many times are we picking up refuse on businesses? Mr. Sakati, I understand. How many times in a week? 2 times. 2 times, and sometimes in the season to 3 times. Yes. But you see, the problem, our system is not geared to actually bill for the 2 times. The policy says that we bill, and the second collection which we do, we're supposed to bill, but that's one part. But the biggest problem, Councillor Tapai, on this matter is the cost reflective tariff. There's no study that was done in terms of the cost reflective tariff. So on refuse removal, we add, last year the tariff was 100 rand. Next year we add 6%. The following year add 6%. So the cost study, indicates to you how much does it cost you to provide this service. And then you determine then what is the tariff that you're supposed to charge to cover the cost of providing these services. So I've engaged with the engineering department because I thought we could do it on their panel of engineers because so we'll be engaging on that process. Yes. I intend to apply to profits because I know they don't want to finance that. If they cannot finance it, then we'll try and find with our funding. On the traffic fines, I am led to believe for the situation of Bitou, Mr. Sakashi can add, but my experience also with other municipalities, Councillor Nosutu's report, we can protect.
Councillors, yes, it's a Women's Day today. The Women's Month is coming in August. When I have your moments, can we have the MM finishing?
That one, Councillor, the problem started with the lockdown. And they were not able to actually do the process. And we were amongst the municipalities up until 2019. By 2019, that were performing very high in terms of revenue. There is a GREP accounting standard that has been issued to budget for the full fine that you actually issue, but then you also budget under expenditure for what you call traffic fine impairment. Because if you find 1,000 and then you go to the court and say, I was rushing, my wife was pregnant, and this was the situation, the court understand the story and say pay 600, So we do make that impairment under debt impairment on the expenditure for that amount that we may not actually I would, after answered Councillor Bota, maybe ask Mr. Sakati to tell us how far are we in terms of the cameras and process of getting the full service provider the way that we used to do it to be in place. Councillor Bota, we budget for senior managers bonuses when the budget is done. So the budget was approved last year, May. At that time, you would not know more or less what each director will score. So then you actually look at the past and previously, and then averagely say it's between 5 and 14%. Then you budget on average 9%. So one director might be 6 or 5%, one might be 11, but you are still covered in terms of the total. So it's just the high because of the budget, but it's not the amount that is going to be paid because the assessment is unfortunately done at a later stage. Yeah.
Councillor Bota?
Into that.
Okay, I'll have a look at that and then in terms of what other policies that does.
Thank you. The item is so, Mr. Sakati?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, previously,
we have authority to do speed enforcement in the entire Bitou area. And the approval was on the fixed sites. The fixed sites means that is those poles that are standing on the road with the big box. And what happened, those were vandalized. So now we had the new mobile boxes. We did place them in the end roads like the Oldland, Longship, but that was revoked because we didn't have a permission for the mobile speed enforcement boxes. We only had the permission for the fixed sites. But on the 22nd of June, SEMCO was sitting on our applications. We've identified a lot of sites where we want to put out cameras. So we are waiting for the outcomes of that. Currently, we can only use the mobiles on the N2. And if we use the ICAM, we should have a traffic officer. And currently, we cannot afford that. We don't have that much of traffic officers to sit in every cameras. The two cameras that are on the N2, we're already using a law enforcement officer, and the other one we're using a traffic officer. And then we've got a fixed site in Rowback that is operating. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Sakati.
And then on the
cameras now, people are gonna know.
no, we're changing that. Yes. And Councillor Babai, last week we had a meeting with the national magistrate that is in charge for this area. We had an agreement that before they withdraw your case in court, or before that they reduce the fine, they must consult with us. That was the agreement with them, so they have to give the instruction to these juniors. Currently, yesterday we were serving the specs for the new part on the specs for the new tender that will be put out soon. And on that one, we are planning to make sure that we are fully operational. Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Sakati, I think there's a question from the mayor.
Correct.
There's a question from the mayor. What about trapping on Airport Road?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, it's one of the sites that we requested SEMCO, the body that is regulating the speed enforcement. We requested them to give us permission to do the speed also.
Thanks, Mr. Sakati. The item is still serving.
Yeah.
Councillor Kabai.
I go with the recommendation.
There's a proposal by Councillor Kabai that we go with the recommendations. Councillor Mangaba.
Seconded, Speaker.
Seconded by Councillor Mangaba. We move to the section 3. Corporate service. First item, it's item C, stroke 3, stroke 48, stroke 07, stroke 22. Employment equity profile of Bitou Municipality per Directorate as at 30th of June 2022. You would find the item on page 379 to 386. The recommendations is in front of us. The item is serving. Councillor Mangaba.
I suggest we take note of the content, Speaker.
Also by Councillor Mangaba that we take note of the content. Councillor Nell.
I'll second, Speaker.
Seconded by Councillor Nell. Section 4. Item C, stroke 4, stroke 15, stroke 07, stroke 22. Human settlement funding applications. You'd find the item on page 388 and page 392. Item is now serving. Acting Mayor?
Speaker, I will recommend that we go with the recommendations of the municipal manager, the engineering services portfolio committee, and the executive mayor to approve funding, especially when the funding will be of good cost in helping us in helping our communities on the replacement of the asbestos roofs, the detached toilets in Guanoktola, Kuland, and New Horizons, and the houses without toilets and construction of toilets in informed settlements, the structural defects in previously built houses, reconstruction of houses destroyed by fires, and emergency structures that were damaged or destroyed by disasters. On that note, Speaker, I go with the recommendations as the funding are of good cost.
Thank you, Acting Executive Mayor. Councillor Sethi? And
Thank you very much Speaker, for the opportunity. I was going to say exactly what the executive mayor is saying there. But one more thing is the houses that are having cracks in Konoktura, I think the funding could assist in those houses to be just maintained. And then also, yes, I think she touched on those houses that were burned. I'd love to say in front of this council that it is sad for me to see a 75-year-old man crying because his house was burnt a long time ago, and then he's staying in a Chotombe now. So I would love if this funding could assist. Thank you very much.
thank you, Councillor Sethi. Councillor Tsapai?
Thank you, Speaker. I believe that this is the wish list of council. It's what we hope for. Now, the question will be, we will be doing or writing an application, filling in an application or applying. Where are we applying? Secondly, Speaker, there is this issue of not shacks, houses that are getting burned. People tend to take that and say, municipality, this is your responsibility. Is the municipality having insurance when a house is burned down to reconstruct that particular house again? Or do we have funding for such? So I think, Speaker, these are the things that must be known first by council before they go out there.
Thank you, Councillor Tsapai. Amen.
Thanks, Chairperson. We will be applying to the Provincial Department of Human Settlement. The name has changed now. I've not kept up, but it's infrastructure also included in that portfolio. We'll further also be applying to the National Minister of Human Settlement. In fact, we are already engaging with the National Minister of Human Settlement for the equally, at also other private institutions at the National Lottery. Specifically in terms of the rectification, was the problem with the rectification is old houses that were built 94, 97, which were not built up to standard, and some of them have already been transferred to those people, so that it does not become the responsibility of the municipality, but as a federal government, then we'll try and see if we can get funding for proposal from the national website. The last application would actually send to the gift of the givers for them in terms of their project to identify themselves, because we know how they operate, which of these houses which will submit all to them that they can be able to go and assist, specifically in relation to what Councillor said about the 75-year-old. We can look at those those situations. So that's where we currently applying. The issue of insurance, the houses become insured by the municipality while they are not transferred. It depends. The house has been transferred and who becomes responsible. If it's been transferred, it's a private property. So I'll have to look at how the insurance policy is drafted. Was in the middle of the insurance policy, it always sometimes makes a will who has control of the asset. And the warrant is not in the meeting now. In this case, the person that has total control of the asset is actually the person in the house. So there might be those exclusions, but I'll just double check on the insurance policy. Report back to council in terms of what is fully covered in terms of that.
Councillor Manlaba.
Thank you, Speaker. Now with all the explanation that the MM has just taken us through, I am comfortable to actually my issue was my fear was if we now let this application rest just on profits, we don't want to stick to the situation where this is prioritized more than actually funding for development and building that we actually expect from them. Now, given the fact that now you've mentioned that there's other means of funding that they would actually seek for to ensure that this is attended to, and this speaks to giving our people the dignity they deserve. So I'm actually comfortable to go with the recommendations, and I would urge MM that once you get a hold of that insurance, ensure that a workshop is done with us as well, because we are the ones who are actually dealing with these disasters when they happen. And at times you get there and you feel you're not well equipped to actually give guidance in terms of what should transpire going forward. So I second the recommendations by the Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mangaba. Proposed by Acting Executive Mayor, seconded by Councillor Mangaba.
She didn't second. She said she concurred.
Yeah.
She said she was going to say the same.
So it was that was.
So it's in that order.
And there was second.
And second.
You didn't say second.
I see it.
You said yes. Thank you, councillors.
Okay.
Item C, stroke 4, stroke 16, stroke 07, stroke 22, which deals with the approval of the temporary emergency housing policy on page 393 to page 416. The recommendations is on screen. The item is serving. Councillor Olivier. Councillor Olivier proposed that we go with the recommendations. Speaker. Councillor Tsabai.
Speaker, I'm seeing on this item that there is an application form attached. And Speaker, this application form includes councillors. Speaker, I'm skeptical that councillors are then going to be included in forms of approval and rejection. Let me unpack it. Indigent form. Councillors were signing, rejecting, or not approving indigent forms, where we see that you are not eligible to be indigent. It became a wildfire in our community. You know, when they come and sought clarity from the officials, why am I not approved? They will say, no, your councillor didn't approve it. I'm very skeptical now. It becomes an application of a very serious nature now. When somebody, his sectors bend down or whatever, now you sign and say, I reject this person because this person is working somewhere. To make an example, or just like you, your check bends down and we reject, because will say you are a speaker of council, then therefore you are not supposed to get material. So it's those things that I think we will be putting our councillors on the spotlight. And also, we want them to be there, whereas councillors must be people who are overseers of what is being done by officials. That is only our role, not to be involved, because now you are involving councillors. Again, what is going to happen is that now the councillor is pick and choosing who to give material. We are political parties here. There's a lot of blame game that will go on. I'm just putting it to the table. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Let me quickly attend to speak first, Councillor Nel.
Just make a comment. There is a recommendation under point 3, which found its way into this policy document, and it doesn't belong there. It was a passing comment that I made on the Green Valley housing issue, and it does not belong with this policy document recommendation. It's a passing comment which was captured under this policy document item, but it actually didn't belong there. It's just a passing comment made.
So you're saying that must come out?
See my point of view.
Come out.
The emergency for Green Valley.
Yeah, item number 3.
Councillor Nel suggests that we to remove. You got that? Thank you. Councillor Olivier, I think you wanted to raise a point of clarity.
Yeah, I just wanted to know what section, what page is that Councillor Kababa is speaking to, because I couldn't find it.
412.
412. Thank you.
This is where it is page 416, where supported by a ward council.
Thank you.
Then you put your name, you put your word, you sign, and it says supported, not supported, you put a date. So that's where I was answering upon that. Really now, it must be decided by council. If what councillor wants to be on the spotlight, that I'm giving out material and I'm rejecting one of my community members, it's fine. But I was bringing out that sometimes it tends to be very sour for councillors, as if they are picking and choosing. Our community were different political parties, then it will go as such. I don't want councillors to be blamed for nothing.
Councillor, I will be with you now, Councillor Kamkap.
I get the point of Councillor Guy. In actual fact, this form is a familiar form. I remember this form because when the emergency units were issued, the ones that's under investigation now, we actually had to sign this beneficiary form. Councillor Olivier, I don't know if you did the same for you. So it's basically the same form. So what councillor is now asking, are we comfortable as ward councillors to actually then be the ones it's like we are approving or supporting it? And if, for instance, we say we are not supporting it, there's a risk that the information might get out and councillors might then be victimized. I think that is the concern of Councillor Kabai, which in actual fact is the same thing with the indigent forms. It's the same thing. We also get sometimes blamed for that process, but we have decided in terms of the indigent applications, I think we're doing the normal. We're just doing the verification. We are not doing the approval. So maybe if a verification is just to say this person is staying in the boundary of the ward and that you can actually attest that this person is within your ward. That's different from you are supporting it or not supporting it. So maybe we can then look at that, just verification by ward council instead of saying supported by ward council.
Can I? Councillor Botha, then MM?
I think just one different aspect from this is that this is emergency housing, very term emergency, and I think we should go for as less signatures as possible, but still obviously making sure that it's being done properly. Trying to get a councillor to sign off on it who might be busy with the emergency on that side and not being here with this emergency might delay it. I mean, used to say it, but just requiring signatures just because, rather than having necessary signatures down there, probably isn't needed. And hearing it also from a different side, maybe it's not practical.
Okay, let me, Councillor Olafia then.
Speaker, I want to support what Councillor Kamkam was saying. If we change the wording to verifying, because you can have a challenge where you go into an emergency housing situation and maybe someone applying for an emergency space not in your ward. I've had those situations, so I know what I'm talking about. Then people come from another place, they're getting an emergency house, so verifying that there is a resident of that ward would work for me as well. So maybe we should just change the wording.
Amen.
Chairperson, thanks. I think I get a sense of the risk that is there in terms of what Councillor Kapa is raising for councillors. The intention was to actually for councillors to their involvement to use maybe appropriately the correct word, not to support, to verify. There is part of the problem we're dealing with, something happened, it's emergency. When we arrive, we have to provide the emergency kit. We learn that this check, the owner has got an RDP house, was allocated last year an RDP house, is renting this check, and this is where we are trying in terms of this policy to manage the situation. Do we then still provide material for that, for the person who is supposed to have actually demolished the check when receiving the RTP house? The other one, which is more prevalent in Kolweni, incident happened, we arrive, we must provide the material, is an undocumented Zimbabwean, Malawian. Now, do we provide, so that's why, but these are not, social issues are not so straightforward issues. It's an undocumented Malawian, but that person at that point in time has got all his things and belongings bent down and there's nothing. So this is what we're trying to look at and addressing going forward. So maybe we must just say verified by the White Councillor, or we take the White Councillor totally out in terms of the risk and we put that to the director of the department to actually verify that. But it's best, we thought in terms of practice, that councillors also verified the information because they work close with the community and with their ward committee. So it's a decision of council that can take, but it must not be supported. Perhaps it must be verified. Then the approval in any case, even if it's supported with the councillor, is with the application in terms of that. Yeah. Thanks, sir.
Okay, thank you, Amen. Councillor Kapai.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, there is this wording that almost is given to councillor that we play oversight. Administration must do the job. If then administration is not doing the job, what do we do? It's consequent management. It's stipulated. If you are not doing your job as an administrator or an official, it's consequence management.
Now, you will find out that councillors are dragged into work that is supposed to be done by officials. And councillors do get reports. If then an area has been burnt down, there will be a report that is going to come to council. And this and that and that. And it's when then the councillors, because councillors, by playing their oversight role, their councillors, they will be told if something is wrong. And then they start playing their oversight role. But if then they want to do everything, it's fine.
No, I should rather thank Councillor Kabane because he is actually helped with the matter. Because what we're intending is for the councillor to play an oversight role in that provision of the material so that we don't provide material to a foreigner who's undocumented. That's an oversight role which the councillor is paying at that specific. So the oversight role does not need to be in the report in council here. Because when we provide that information with the staff, we might not know, we might not be aware in terms, the staff might not be aware how long this person has stayed here, whether this person, so the councillor working with the ward committee might have better information. So it's actually to play that role. But look, it's for council to decide if you, want and the wording that we can actually use. But we wanted to manage this provision of this, so that council will play that oversight role in understanding that, we continuously provide material for somebody who has received an RDP house years ago, but is renting. And that oversight role gives that councillor more information to understand that this person has declared indigency in our system and is actually renting the shack and is actually not declaring that income. So you have a broader understanding in terms of the value chain of this specific incident. But it's for council. It's for us. It's really not a big issue, But the form has been there. It's similar to the indigent form. It's been there for councillors to also sign that, but they are not approving. It's not saying approving. It's saying you support that this family be provided. Or you verified it. Thanks.
Councillor Kamka.
Speaker, I would propose that we go with the recommendations, but I would be more comfortable with verification.
Verified by what council?
Just instead of supported, it gives it a different wording to verify, because verify actually will mean oversight. And it's quite important that we do have that function also from previous experience.
Will you then need to change also the way it says supported or not supported?
Yes, just verify. Just
Listen,
verify.
the part where it's the heading says it's going to say verified by ward councillor. Now further down, it said supported or not supported.
It must be taken out.
That's what I was wanting to know. Would you then remove that part?
Thank you.
But if
Question?
Councillor Koloapi.
Up in my hand, way before you actually gave 3 other people to speak, and I've been watching you.
Councillor Koloapi, continue, put on your mic.
Thank you. I think I must add that it was very crucial what Councillor Kapai brought from experience. By the time we're talking these things from the committee level, most of us, we are PRs, and Councillor Mhlana by then, for him, I think it didn't get these experiences as Councillor Kamkam and Councillor Kapai has already found. And for him, he was even more comfortable to ensure that verification it needs to be done. And if you can remember, we were at the ward at some stage where we were complaining that the material was given to people that are not even supposed to get. And that alone, people they've got a tendency of not separating between the officials, the administration, and the role of the councillor and the role of the administration. It also comes out there, whether you verify, there is a point you'll say, I support this person being given, or I'm not supporting. I understand that there's a risk involved because we've got lot of political parties now in the community who are fighting about who's doing what for who, fighting ways of fighting about those things or putting any organization in dispute. But still, you will go and verify it. What if you come there, you verify and you find that it is a person from Africa who's sitting there or somebody who was not supposed to get it? Would you still after verification not say I'm supporting or I'm not supporting? So somehow e-verification will make somebody to be confident enough to say, I'm not supporting this person to be given material because firstly, this person was given a house before, but now he's not staying in that house. Or this person has used his name to access the material in order to give the African people. Somehow we need just to deal with the truth of the matters of the community. So for me, I would say, let's erase supported by what we just say verified. In the case of supported and not supported, you scratch. Let's not scratch that thing out. Because ultimately, after you're verified, you need to support whether this person to be given or not.
Thank you. Councillor Botha, then Councillor Manlaba.
Okay, page 415. Requires a.
Verification done by housing officer and.
Stop. Back. Are you talking about?
Supported by what council? But yes.
So instead of support, we say verified.
I'm verifying by the. So they didn't ask her.
I thank you. Councillor Manlaba,
Why are they verified?
standing off. Thank you. I take it that we're going to change it to verified instead of support. It was then support. Councillor Kolopi, did you support?
I'm saying on the heading,
it must be verified.
I say verified, but below next to signature supported, it must remain because the councillor has to make a determination. This is a foreigner staying here now who's undocumented in South Africa is illegal. Do I support that we spend municipal funds on this person? This is a person that has received an RDP house but is renting this property. Do I support, so that's what the council says. Eventually they have.
Eventually we need to have that decision. And which is, Councillor Kamkam is not happy with that. I'm sorry, Jess.
Sorry, Speaker, but I've made a proposal that supported be changed to verification in all instances and supported and not supported be taken out.
So there's a counter proposal. Yes.
Councillor Olivier, I will attend to that now.
Speaker, it's a simple matter. If you look at verifications done by the housing officer, these comments. It can be done the same way, verification and then verification done by the ward councillor with the comment, you can change that. So the ward councillor has a space to put their comment.
Okay.
So I don't know why the housing officers are protected and the councillors are not.
Oh, you are serious. Supported me.
Oh, they can't ask you to go to the page because I didn't know what you were talking about.
I told you the page. Because we are 3 AM.
So we change it to that, Speaker.
Yeah.
Okay, no. Did we take note of what Councillor Olivier has raised? We've got it.
Let me go down with my other thing. I support that. Let it be.
So it was proposed by Councillor Olivier, seconded by Councillor Kolopi.
What councillor is, councillor Kamka was advocating.
I will move. Next item.
She will get both because.
Next item.
We need the long term one.
The item is section 4, item C, stroke 4, stroke 18, stroke 07, stroke 22. Approval of the revised Bitou housing selection policy, page 417 to page 464. Item is serving. Recommendations is on screen. Councillor Tapai.
Speaker, when I read this, I picked up that this policy has got an age limit of 40 years. I was a ward councillor before, and communities rejected this. Age 44. I think then, if then we are going to adopt this, we must go to public participation and communities be told bluntly that you don't get a house if you are not 40 years. Because when we listened to them, they were saying, but at the age of 18, I've got an ID, you know, and you are dragging me out there to go and vote for you. Now, after voting for you, you tell me that I must get a house at the age of 40.
For 22 years more.
You see? So it doesn't really need us here sitting here. It needs public participation. There's development that is going on and that is going to go on. Speaker must go to Ebenezer when you arise in the hall and tell those people, you are not age 40, you are not going to get a house.
Out by the door.
So I'm trying to say, let's go out to the people. If they reject this, because anyway, we are an entity of government. We can do our own policy that is going to suit Bitou Municipality. So I think, Speaker, we can take parts of a policy from the province, and some of them are not going to suit Bitou. So I'm suggesting that unless we are closed, it's a legislated thing that you get a house at age 40
and aging.
And it has never happened in Bitou. It has been coming that you are going to get a house at age 40. But we've witnessed a young people at age of 18 years getting a house in Bitou. So it needs really to be taken to communities. That's my
understanding.
And in fact, it's developing criteria. We also human beings. I hope we just hold us a brief. But we talk on the same page. So there's the first one, criteria, qualifying, for everyone, up to 90% of the beneficiaries, says all of that. The above mentioned 10% will be registered on the housing database identification for the following criteria. Age, person 60 years and older, proven military veterans, proven farm workers, proven special needs, council needs, person in informal settlement where institution of development is undesirable. Continue. Where I'm going, the speaker, is whether I might have missed something that speaks to Tanya. Are you finding it on your side? 8.4.3, so that we then correct that because then it contradicts through you, Councillor Speaker, Councillor Chapa, it contradicts that criteria, which is the the point that you have actually. So Tanya, you managed to find it, né?
Sir.
Yeah. Okay. Age-based, is that part of the heading criteria? So it says age-based prioritization. Age-based prioritization is applicable to housing subsidy applicants of greenfield projects for housing with heads applicants and or spouse cohabiting partners that are 40 years or older. So this speaks to a specific what do you call it now?
Greenfields project.
Specific housing, type of project, this heading. So.
What is greenfield project?
Greenfields, Mr. Sakati and Fez must help me, Greenfields area. The household must be registered in the municipal demand database for a period of 3 years prior to selection. The household referred to must turn 40 or older within the calendar of selection. The following exceptions, the house is selective on a quota for that. So we just have to just get clarity quickly, Mr. Sakati, first, see you on the line, on the issue of greenfields. But that does not seem to be the criteria for all RDP projects. It seems to be a specific project related, but I think what the councillor is raising is a fundamental issue that needs to be clarified. So if we can clarify it, or if we can't clarify, then councillor to decide. No. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Greenfields, Mr. Secretary, is nothing. As opposed to brownfields where there is already people on and must move them and then put services. For green, clean site.
Like 562.
Like 562. So that would include where you intended to do your flips projects. Then in relation, because I saw flips there in relation to this project, we are then saying limited to age of 40. Okay, so yeah, if it clarifies, then yeah, councillor Smith.
Are we all clear?
And I think that's what.
Sorry, Councillor Koloapi. Councillor Kamkam.
Speaker, I read that it's just a prioritization. It's not a restriction. If I may say it like that. So that's why I don't have a problem with it. Because it simply says they should be prioritized, which in my opinion is correct. Because we do get instances where young just jump the queue, jump people, they go and see people.
Yeah.
So that is a very important point, I think, and it should stay like that.
We give to Councillor Koloapi.
I think also us in the committee, Speaker, when we looked at all those things, we find that there was the other one we call Mbulelo Memani that was pre-mode for anyone, where it was even we have to prioritize older citizens and everything. Then this one of the greenfields, it also, when it came to us, we felt, oh, okay, it promotes more responsible people of the certain age. Imagine taking a 21-year-old to a greenfield like even right now at Ebenezer, where we might have his lives and whatever. And those people are not working. And they are older people. They are older people, whereas the arrangement of people setting themselves in the database, it's open from 18 years and above. At that one, it was more to say, whatever the case is, we need to look at the revenues of the municipalities, people that might be responsible, having commitment and whatever thing. But at the same time, it's not taking away the concern that is there with the community. But imagine if there wouldn't be those things where we set and say, we need to have a certain standard that we must promote so that the things should be handled in a very responsible way, and the rates that goes with that and everything else, so that we can at least promote our municipality and the level. So it was exactly that same thing that it was stuck to us when we said, if it's 40 for the flips and whatever, because it goes with the responsibilities of your rates and everything, it's fine. Because it's not taking away people to be in the database that 40 years anyway.
Yeah. Must differentiate the confusion between the criteria which has been set upfront in the policy on that setting and specifically 8.4. 8.4 is specifically in terms of what it intends to achieve. Generally on flips, you will not have 18 years people in majority who are working and having an income that is more than 1,500. So the intention is to upfront look at those those necessary for department. It's for council to decide, council, policy. I think there just should not be a confusion between the two headings.
Councillor Manlaba.
Let me speak in your house. For us to actually sit and discuss this, I can tell already we are actually at common ground now. We know exactly what what's what and what means like. But the issue now is when we actually this needs to be put to practicality. And then you find that the officials that are meant to actually know this like the back of their hand.
And the information that would actually be shared would actually be not the true reflection, or it would be to a point where now, instead of using prioritization as the actual meaning,
it would now mean, no, the only people we're focusing on is this. Hence, we'll be sitting with a problem. So the issue now that we understand what the policy entails.
It's not, it doesn't just vest at us actually going with the recommendation, but even with practical implementation of it, this needs to be actually done right. Or else we'll be sitting with what Councillor Tapa was just saying now, that where the community is actually seeing it pointless to actually be an upright citizen. If you only need to wait up until you're 40 before you can actually get an RDP. So it just needs to be done right. Meaning policies should not be treated as something that should be filed, but we need to actually ensure that part of our implementation is actually guided by it. Thank you.
No, thank you, Councillor Manlaba. Councillor Kamkam.
Speaker, as stated before, I don't have a problem with it. I understand in some communities, that might not be an issue because housing projects are a regular thing there. People get houses all the time. In other communities where people have been waiting for a long time, this is a hot topic. So like I said, it simply says these people should be prioritized. It does not mean you exclude the other persons from actually getting or qualifying. It means we should focus on the priorities. That's it. So, you know, I know in my world, I mean, this issue gets raised all the time. Where people that are older feels that when housing projects comes, the youngsters gets priority over them. So, I mean, it differs from ward to ward. It differs from community to communities. In some communities, they are struggling to fill up the empty houses. In other communities, there's a long queue. So, you know, Speaker, I would propose, did we have a proposer?
Propose. No, Speaker.
Yes.
Speaker, come.
Please go with recommendations.
Councillor Kamkam is on the floor. Councillor Manlaba.
Thank you, Speaker. I don't get the sudden heart palpitations. Maybe the play of words and my English actually throws people over the edge. Actually, I'm actually in support of what the recommendations actually stated.
Proposed and seconded.
That's the English.
Councillor Kamkam. Next item. We're going to the next section, section 5. Item C, stroke 5, stroke 31.07, stroke 22. Status of the implementation of the water management devices as a water demand management and conservation intervention for June 2022. The item is on page 466 to page 470. The item is serving. Councillor Kamkam.
I propose that we go with the recommendations.
Yes. There's a proposal by Councillor Kamkam. Councillor.
Speaker, I would like us to add on that recommendation by the mayor that the water devices must
Right, they are
We want to support me.
they are Kokele and Riteka.
They must be installed in all councillors.
Yes, yes.
As legislators, whoever community member is. Yeah.
You know you're gonna pay for it.
Taking the bull by the horn. Taking the.
Okay, can I have some closing arguments? It's been seconded, but I will allow one to Deputy Mayor.
Okay.
Councillor Olivier. Can we have the acting executive mayor, Mayor Busakwe on the floor? Oh, you can't.
I know what he's gonna say, because on this comment,
Elio.
is that it must start with the councillors. So, and seeing that we also got a presentation this morning from old lady, forget the lady's name, so.
Angela.
Yeah, so I am supporting them.
Hey,
Councillor Olivier, then Councillor Sethi.
You're being symptomatic.
Speaker, I know if I say something now, I'm going to be told I'm just making a noise because it doesn't, the item is closed, but I want to have my say. I don't like must. Must is an instruction. Is council giving me an instruction to decide what I want? So I'm just saying the wording must be carefully put there. The request must come through, then councillors, it's a request. I'm a DA person and I believe in democracy. So I don't believe in giving people instructions, and especially from council. So must is an instruction.
You just wasted 2 minutes.
Yes, I thought so. It's usual rude to give us an answer, but I've given my opinion.
Councillor Sethi, then we will move.
You are a legislator, you must.
No, not a must.
Councillor Sethi is on the floor, mic is on, councillors.
Exemplar.
Thank you, Councillor Sethi.
Lead by example.
Yeah, you must lead by example.
Councillors, order. Can we behave, please?
Can you just get order here, please?
Councillor Sethi.
I'll take instructions.
Okay, thank you very much, Speaker. I'm not against,
I'm not against either.
I'm not against, councillors, but I mean, this thing must be installed, for the councillors first. But what I just want to say now is that the public participation must be strengthened again, because, you know, I recall when we were having our IDP meeting with Francina, our people opposed this thing. And so I'm saying that this thing, I would like it to go back again to the public. If we can do that, please. I emphasize.
Making a noise because the item is closed, council.
Ma'am, then we will go. Thank you, councillors.
Can I speak up? One element missing in terms of the discussion previously. We're happy that councillors, I saw Mike was smiling. We need to clear to us, is it prepaid or free flow?
Free flow.
Remember when we put it, Mike, yeah, just give Mike please, so because we have to be clear, councillors, Mike.
Mr. Rhoda?
It actually defeats the object of this thing, because this thing should be in prepaid mode. The reason why it's in some place open mode, it's for time, to give the people time to.
For the public participation.
But the intent and ultimately is that we'll go in prepaid.
We already prepaid in our houses.
It would really make sense that,
For now.
it would really make sense that,
Out of that,
Let's go, councillors, to the next item. Next item on the agenda. Item C, stroke 5, stroke 32, stroke 07, stroke 22. Submission of revised master plans for water and sanitation services and associated study to analyze treasury data and identify projects that promote water conservation, water demand management in Bitou local municipality. The item is on page 471 to page 487. The item is now serving. Amen.
Mike, wil jy iets byvoeg?
No, it's just a master plan. A master plan normally has an outlook of 20 years, but we review it every 5 years to see that our approach is still current. One of the.
Thank you, Mr. Roda. The item is serving. Councillor Koloapi.
Mr. Speaker, I recommend that we accept this item because as it was presented to us, it was like, it makes us to understand that our officials are they plan, pre-planning, and they make sure that we should never see ourselves in those situations of PPE and other places that they go to water zero. Immediately for 20 years, we're already financially well planned with everything. So for me, let's go with the recommendation. Executive Mayor, the recommendation that is there that approves this.
As a proposal by Councillor Koloapi. Let me just get Councillor Tapai, then Councillor Acting Executive Mayor, Mayor Busakwe. Councillor Tapai.
Thank you, Speaker. This town has been on par for the longest time. If you remember, Speaker, this is the first town that installed desalination plant when it was not fashionable.
Yes.
Now, again, we are installing prepaid meters when it is not fashionable. I second.
Acting Executive Mayor, did you want to say something?
I was also going to second, Mr. Speaker, but always Councillor Zamba is before me.
You said we are some.
Next item. Item C, stroke 5, stroke 32, stroke 07, stroke 22. No, sorry. Stroke C, stroke 5, stroke 33, stroke 07, stroke 22. The progress on the solar water heater project implemented by the Department of Minerals, Resource and Energy. Would find the item on page 861. The item is serving. Councillor Kapai.
I go with the recommendation.
There's a proposal that we go acting Executive Mayor Busakwe.
Second, Speaker.
They don't want even this.
Thank you.
Safe and that thing, yeah.
By acting Executive Mayor Busakwe. Sir Wada.
I don't want to say something.
Thank you, Chair. I see council has sympathy with me on this. Just a couple of things that's happening at the moment. There was a report, I think, the report served in the Michael, but we've subsequently, with the assistance of the speaker, also had a look at Ebenezer, and we find a different site now to put the geysers in, which is better suited than the other one. And we were going to move it this year, so this week. So the geysers are still in this facility, which we're paying 42,000 Rand a month. And if we don't get the geysers out by tomorrow, it'll trigger another 42,000 Rand. So since yesterday, and the guys are still on site as I'm speaking, we had a broad agreement that we're going to put the geysers there this week. So yesterday we started going out there, and now the door is locked. And there's someone in there. I don't know the people there, but there's someone's furniture and stuff is in there. And now we can't get the key. The keys at some lawyer, and James and Jermaine is now busy on site to try and get the key. If we don't get the key, we're going to go into next month, which will trigger another 42,000. I've told them keep the door open because it's a municipal facility. And that's what they're now discussing on site. Also we've spoken to DMRE about, or rather we wanted to have a meeting, but all of them declined. There's about 5-6 people in DMRE that runs this project. So we set up a meeting with them. So what's currently happening there in this facility, the storage facility, there's 738 parts of geysers. So there's a tank, you get a solar panel, and then you get all the consumables, the pipes and the bins and et cetera. So I went to site there, and there is 738, and I didn't count it, but they gave me the figures. 738 geysers there and solar panels. And then there's about 222 half installs. So the half installs relates to consumables. You remember that some time back they broke into the place and they stole some of the piping and so on. So DMRE was going to try to source the consumables to finish the job. They told us there was going to be, they issued an order to the tune of about 640,000 to the company that manufactured these things, only to find that the manufacturer is no more in existence. So now they start. Now they try to say to us that they can't find the parts. I went there and I found it's parts that you can get at Bitou and all these hardware places that we could use. So we tried to set up the meeting, and the meeting was going to go along the ways of saying, look, we're going to appoint, they've got a project coordinator in play. I don't know what this bloke is doing because he's also not getting instructions from VMRE. So we wanted to push an agenda with him and say, look, use this guy to install the geysers, because the installer is also missing. The people that install, contractor is also missing. But this guy is very passionate about this project, but he's just a project coordinator, gets instructions from DMRE. So we wanted to sell to them, appoint this guy as the contractor. We will assist him as far as possible, and we will move the geysers, but obviously they must pay for it. Put the geysers, finish those half installs and put as much geysers we can onto roofs. And then the remainder of the material we can sort of convene and see what we're going to do with it now. And then ask them to give money to buy the balance of materials, or we could come to council and say, council, please assist with funding. They are also already on terms to take the geysers that are, after you've taken the half installs out, the rest of the geysers, which is 738, somewhere, So they had said they had a deal with Musselburgh that was going to take it, but Musselburgh since declined, and now they've got some deal with the municipality up north. Okay. So a number of things are happening. We have this promise that they're going to arrange to take the geysers up there. We, in the meantime, are arranging to put the geysers here, and we're trying to push an agenda where they appoint this bloke that's running around here to finish the half installs, because the people with the half installs are unhappy. With regards to 68 leaking stuff, we went and visited all those, most of those people, some we couldn't find at home, but the bulk of them is completed. There's no more, should not be any leaking installations anymore. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Wooden. That info, we will go to the next item. Item C, stroke 6, stroke 41, stroke 0607, stroke 22. The Pledge Tourism Interim Memorandum of Agreement on page 863, page 869. The item is serving. Councillor Nel.
Speaker, this was an unfortunate incident where the contract expired without us all in tourism noticing it. And as an incident step and a temporary contract can be established. That we need to ask. I propose we go with the recommendation within the period that in that period we prepare ourselves well to make sure that we get the correct kind of informed financial reports from the tourism people, and that the contract be drafted.
Motion by Councillor Nel. Councillor Olivier.
I second that.
Seconded
By
by Councillor Olivier.
So you are.
Thank you, Councillor Olivier.
quickly.
It is then done with the portfolio of index. Haven't forgot any item? Done. Okay. We'll move back to the order of business, which is the point 11. Urgent matters submitted by the municipal manager. We have no urgent matters. None received. We will then go to point 12. Consideration of notices of motions. We have received 4 motions. In terms of the rules of order, it was please submitted in time. Posted by then seconded by Councillor Kapai in all four motions. Council then will deal with this motion. Councillor Botha?
Has everyone read the council or do you want me to read through it?
I would rather you read it on record.
No, it was submitted in due. It was submitted. I don't think it's needed to read. We have gone through it.
Yeah, Speaker, I think the motion speaks for itself. We've got a massive unemployment rate and we have to assist and we have to enable. And this is a motion put forward in order to do that. We've spoken to our constituents. And this is being requested and is on the top of their minds. Hence we've put forward this motion.
The motion submitted for.
Councillor Kapai?
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I would like council to take into consideration. We agree with these motions as council, as they are service delivery related motions. I don't think, Speaker, we can be against these motions because really I'm putting to council that let's all agree with these motions. Thank you.
Councillor Kapai, Councillor Nel?
Speaker, I think there are items that have to be gone through in those motions. I think we need to refer it to the administration to do a proper investigation into those matters and report back, and then we just report back at the next council meeting.
Thank you, Speaker. It is quite a lengthy reading, but I've noticed that some of the items for the different wards there's similar request. I was very interested because obviously there's submitted for Kirland as well. And Councillor Botha mentioned in her motion that she has met with the youth of the specific wards and they came up with these type of suggestions. So, I was not aware of such a meeting. And it would have been nice if attendance registers was included or at least the dates and the venues of the meetings, just for us to also know what is happening in our areas. And I've also noted that some of the items, obviously like Councillor Nyale said, some of those items, there's already strategies and plans in place for this. And I would also recommend that we do refer to the administration and we get proper feedback on the suggestions and then it be resubmitted to council. Thank you.
Councillor Kapai?
Speaker, we must be clear here. Are we against this motion? If then we are not against these motions, administration will only take what we recommended. That these are the way that we think we can do them as administration. As I have said, these are service delivery related motions that are going to assist young people and ratepayers of this town, especially the indigent people. So I think we must agree in this council, recommend this motion and approve them, and immediately after that, they go to officials for implementation. It's them that they are going to draft a program on how this is going to be done. Then they come back and report in council that this is how we think it will work. I think we must agree as council. It's either they disagree or we all agree with this.
Thank you.
Do you want to say?
I'll wait for the other councillors. I'm raising my hand just on the last part, whether administration should, I don't know whether it's administration that must agree, so, but I'll deal with it once everyone has spoken.
Acting Executive Mayor, what's your hand up?
Thank you, Speaker. I don't agree with these motions. I would like us to note the motions and take it back to administration.
That's what I also wanted to raise, but I will give Councillor Kamkam first, then I will speak on this.
Yes, Speaker, we cannot say it goes to administration for implementation because in some of those items it suggested we vote in favor of certain things and we are not in a position to make those decisions without certain information. So I want to place on record, it's for noting and not for implementation.
Thank you. That's right. Look, just from my side, Councillor Botha, and I want to say this. Look, we are all here to upskill and uplift our youth. I am in favor to uplift our youth. But when it comes to this motion, my worry here is you mentioning your license. Now, for the community hall that's being upgraded, whose responsibility will it be to move or find an alternative? Because here we say this must become available either days that we decide on. Now the community hall becomes in the contractor's hands. We then come back and fall around to find an alternative. I'm saying this again, and it must not be seen in a manner that we are against uplifting our youth. But the manner in which this has come forward, I would suggest we take note of this with the back of our mind, still wanting to uplift our youth. And then within the 6 days after this meeting, the MM or the administration then respond to say, this is what we have found, this is our queries. We can either do it A, B, and C's way. You would read that a few months ago, we asked for a skill development center. But my favorite councillor was raising concerns. So therefore, I'm saying we are not against, but we take note of this motion. We'll refer it for response within the next 6 days after this meeting. Can we move?
Yes.
Thank you.
So Speaker, are you committing that there will be time frames that will be operating where we will get a response so that it can come back again to this council so that we can agree into service delivery?
You just said 6 days.
Yes. Look, in terms of the rules of order, we take note of this. We must reply within 6 days after today's meeting. Instead of what Councillor Kamkam has raised, going into a vote all of a sudden now where it seems like we are against, and then we go ballistic in our communities to say, you see them, they are not in, you see. So we will stick to the rules of order. We take note of this. We will then reply within the next 6 days after this meeting, Councillor Botha. Thank you very much. Councillors, with that then said,
there's a hand up.
Speaker, who proposed and who seconded now?
Councillor Nel.
The acting executive mayor Musafu.
My proposal was tonight to say I propose, my proposal was that it was actually administration and to come back at the next council meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That motion has been dealt with. Thank you. We move. Yes, it's in the rules of order. We must reply within 6 days.
We have to hear him within 6.
Consideration, we will move to point 13. Consideration of notice of questions. We received none. We will then move to point 14. No exigencies. With that, we will go to in committee. How many time do you need, Jess? 5 minutes. The actors can be excused.
I request that director, why would you excuse the director? Oh, because.
In committee.
Can I ask that the two legal manager, Kraus and to remain? Only those two.
We are voting for hours now. What are you going to do about this?
Even though.
You know, I like you though. I love you, but.
I'm not 5 minutes, 6